Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here. Hopefully, everyone has had themselves a good weekend. It's pretty gloomy here again. Get a little bit of a rainy day, but the weekend was awesome. I went up and saw my kids up in Fukuoka, and yeah, it was kind of nice. My wife seems to love the Hiltons. I don't know why. This one actually was a pretty nice hotel. The room wasn't very good. And I don't know about you guys who do hotel stuff, but I hate it when the water pressure in the shower is low. And damn, if that's the worst I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's basically a mist. How am I supposed to wash my hair in a mist? But nevertheless, it was nice seeing the kids. Went and had some yakitori, which of course is kind of like a food on a stick here in Japan. It was pretty tasty, and enjoyed some drinking, and even went and got cocktails after in a British pub of all places. But it was a lot of fun, and it was a beautiful weekend too. Sunny. I matter of fact, I got a sunburn. But then again, I'm the type of white that if I just stick my head out the window. Instant sunburn. So there's that. But nevertheless, it was a lot of fun, and hopefully, you guys had yourself a good weekend as well. It's coming up on holiday here for us. So we kind of got ahead of the holiday a little bit. Although in the city, the weekend people were doing all kinds of stuff all over Fukuoka. There were events and festivals and fireworks, and it was pretty good. Kicking off the Golden Week here in Japan, which basically they had a bunch of holidays around the same time, so they just squished them together into a big old holiday. So for the worst of the traffic and stuff, we're going to be home, so it works out good. But this week is a little bit of a leisure week for me, so that's nice. I don't get a lot of days off really. Hey, lady, how you doing? But it was good fun. And I think next month I'm going to Tokyo. It's been a while. I haven't been since the whole COVID thing. So that's kind of nice. I have a Sith Lord joining me, maybe. I don't know. I have to wait and see. Like, oh,
Hola,
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 says the
Chester.
Sith Lord. All right.
Hola, Bugbear. I am not a Sith Lord. That is my cyberpunk character from the game I play on Saturdays.
Okay. Well, it's Sith Lord in name only. But already then, go hit that like share button, everybody. Let everybody know we're on. But definitely, we got a few things to get into today. Mainly, kind of wanted to kind of go over later a little bit about the new Avengers that are coming out. And does anyone actually care?
No.
But we'll get into that. I don't know if I like the neon pink versus my perfect green.
Why not? What's wrong with
Uh,
pink?
I know it's offending me, but nevertheless, how you doing, dude? How was your weekend?
My weekend was just fine. Let's see. What did I get up to this weekend? Let's see. I did a lot of walking, Chester.
Yeah,
Chester,
me
I did a
too.
lot of walking. I've been a walking boy. Uh Yeah, this is my year. The goal is still the same. The goal has not changed. Best shape of my life is what I want to be. Not necessarily by the end of this year, but this is the year that it starts. I got five. I'm gonna give myself 5 years to get in the best shape of my life.
Usually takes
45.
about two.
Yeah, yeah. So I figure if I give myself some cushion, we'll be all right. Plus, you never know when you're gonna get injured, like my finger. I told you about my finger, right? How I sliced the living crap out of it in March.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it took a little while for that to heal. I got a great big scar, and now the tip of my finger is just. It's interesting to feel. It's an interesting feeling when you touch it. Um, yeah, so that kind of stuff can slow you down a little bit,
Sure.
but yeah, that's the goal. But so I did a lot of walking, hung out with the wife some. Other than that, just been chilling. Been chilling. Today, I don't know what it's like over in Japan, but in America, it's absolutely gorgeous weather. You
Yeah.
literally could not ask for better weather than today.
Yeah.
65, a slight breeze, lots of sun. So even though it's, 65, it still feels nice and warm.
Hmm. Yeah. No. Sounds
You
good.
can't you can't ask for better weather than it, Chester. It is the best.
Oh
It's
no
the
no.
best.
the weekend here was about the same. It was really nice. Um, it was a touch too hot for me, but the wind was blowing, so good enough. But yeah, it was a real beautiful weekend here. Unfortunately, I do have rain on me today, but it's, at least it didn't interfere with my vacation weekend. But I am feeling a little bit mixed in the overall feelings department, physically. I was
Mm.
walking a lot too. Of course, I was in a city. And I got a little bit of sunburn somehow. I mean, I covered up a lot, but it didn't help. Being a white boy and all.
Sunburn?
Yeah, not flaking type, but just a little color. But it's just I had a hat on, I had sun. I was kind of trying to cover up, but I'm very sensitive to sunlight. But I think one
He
of the
is in
big
fact a white man.
I am, but I think the biggest problem with the weekend is I might have drank a little bit too much.
Uh-oh.
You know,
Chester, what are you doing out drinking? What are you doing out drinking at your age? What's going on, bud?
I know. Well, see, the thing is, usually we go out. I go out and eat with the kids, and of course, we have some beer while we're having yakitori, right? And it's
Alright.
really good food. My daughter's fiance is really good at picking good food places, so we keep him. And it
Mhm,
was delicious. I really enjoyed that. But I always go drinking with them a little bit, and of course they have to keep up with dad, right? But this time I
mhm.
decided, all right, let's see what you got, boys. So after that I took them out to a well, like a British pub and got cocktails.
Mm,
Yes, and
mm.
on the menu they are particularly had a drink that was called Adios Motherfucker.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. It was a take on a Blue Hawaiian, but they just kind of tripled up the alcohol. Uh, the boys, well, the boys looked better the next day than I felt. But actually, surprising, it was my daughter that was the one that kept up.
Hmm.
Hmm,
Takes after dear old dad,
I
huh?
guess so. Well, she does look more like me, and he does look more like his mom. But I put him to the test a little bit, and
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was good fun. Everyone had some good laughs and such like that. So it was a good night. But I
Nice.
didn't drink enough water along the way was the problem. You got to remember, you go out drinking, you need to drink a lot of water, guys.
Take some water with you, or you could just do the sensible thing and not. Just don't drink the poison, because it
Well,
is poison,
it is,
alcohol.
but I mean, it's like only a couple times a year. I mean, come on.
It's you're effectively poisoning yourself very slowly is
Yeah,
what you're doing.
yeah,
Or quickly, depending how much how fast you're drinking it, I guess.
yeah. But it was a good
Yeah,
old time. We had fun. And so that was good. Nice to see the kids, and they're all doing really well. Uh, So, I mean, and that's happy for me. I trained them proper. Now I don't have to do the hard work in the long run. You see,
I see, yeah.
yeah, that's how you do. A lot of people had trouble with their kids and disciplinary around teenage years, especially with girls. But I dealt with it when they were babies, man, and then there was no problem whatsoever. It's consistency, Yeah. But yeah, they're doing really good. My son is he's got himself real tight in that company over there. Basically what they're doing with him is there's an older dude who's going to be retiring sooner than later.
Mm,
And they're
mhm.
kind of training him to take over that job. But it's a pretty big job though, because basically what my son does, he doesn't build, but he designs and sells at the same time. What he does is
Yeah,
he builds factory machinery, with conveyor
mhm.
belts and all those kind of machines you see that the factory line is what he does.
Yeah,
But he specifically deals with liquid, uh, you know, uh, 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 you know, kinetic flow and stuff like that. So his contracts that he does others, but the two main ones he has is Bridgestone, of course, the big tire company and their headquarters there, right where he lives actually. So about moving liquid rubber and other chemicals, I'm assuming. And then of course the other big one is the wastewater and water management for the city of Fukuoka,
mm,
which, that's about between the size of Boston and New York. It's a lot.
that's a
So,
lot.
It's a lot, but I mean, it's good. He's of course, he's still in training and stuff, but he's being groomed to take over that
He's gonna
overall
be
position. So,
he's gonna be a very important man, that's what you're saying.
well, I
Very
don't know.
important.
I don't know about that. I mean, for water in
Responsibility.
Fukuoka, he will be, I suppose. Yeah,
Well, you kinda need water, Chester. It's kind of literally like block 2 in the building blocks of life is
it
all water.
is. But I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think he's going to be a politician or anything like that.
yeah. Well, well, you never know. You
You
never
never
know.
know. He is
A
really good
lot of
with people.
politicians didn't expect to be politicians, and then somebody put that bug in their ear, and there they are.
There they are. That's
There they
true.
are.
But yeah, no, I think it's good for him long run. And like I said, they're probably got him on a 5, 7 year program where he'll probably take that over. So, and he's a couple years
He's
into
gonna
that
become
now.
Prime Minister Busby of Japan. That'll
I
be interesting.
That would be interesting. Yeah, but no, I don't expect so. But yeah, it is an important thing. He's got himself in a good position. It's really good. Water management is important for a city.
I mean, it is a recession-proof job, that's for sure. So
It
we're always
is.
gonna need water.
That is true. Although he's a little bit concerned because it sounds like there are some murmurings of moving him to take over the Tokyo water management, which,
Oh, no.
Jesus.
Yeah, a lot of money. It's gotta be in Tokyo, though, you would think.
Oh no, but he doesn't want to do that, and I don't blame him. You don't want to go to Tokyo, dude. That's not no fun.
No?
Fukuoka's no, no, Tokyo sucks. Fukuoka's perfect place. It's like I say, it's a big city, but it's not too big. It's well laid out. The food is the best in Japan. It's just more laid back, fun city. Tokyo
So
is boring. If you want good food, you are paying for it, buddy. And all it is a sea of marching soldiers in suit and tie. That's
so
Tokyo.
when I come to Japan later this year or next year, you're telling me to come to Fukuoka, is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
do not go to Tokyo. No. No, a lot of foreigners don't get it. They make a mistake and they go to Tokyo.
They
Um,
spend money like crazy
and
in
they spend way
Tokyo.
more money than they have to. Kyoto, a lot of people go
Yeah,
to Kyoto and it is beautiful. But if you want to come to Japan, come to Fukuoka, take
yeah,
like a couple day trip over to Kyoto, which is closer to Fukuoka than it is Tokyo, right?
right.
And but stay in Fukuoka. It's way better experience. There's so much more to see and do. Tokyo's kind of horrible, guys. I mean, if you're just made of money
Also
and you can go
huge.
into these Michelin restaurants, you're going to get good food. But other
Right.
than that, dude, you don't want to. It's just not good food, dude. The only thing to really see in Tokyo is the palace. And I mean, I guess you could make a day of it. But
Yeah.
Fukuoka's got a big, beautiful. Their castle's gone, but they have the outer walls. They have the towers. They have a moat. They have a beautiful lake that was built on it. So if you're into that, there's a few other sightseeing things, but it's just way better. People who don't know Japan go to Tokyo. That's the way it is.
Alright, alright. I hear you. I'll fly into Tokyo and take a train down to Fukuoka.
No,
I
you
hear
don't want
you.
to train in. You just go straight to Fukuoka. It's an
Just
international
fly
airport.
right in.
Yeah, it's an
Fly right
international
in.
airport. You don't want to.
Alright.
You don't.
Okay, fine.
Don't even look at Tokyo. I'm not.
Tokyo
I'm
don't
not.
even exist anymore. It's gone. Godzilla got it. It's done.
I'm telling you, dude. All it is a corporate city.
Mm,
It's a corporate city.
mm. Yeah, it's a
It
money
really
city.
is.
It's like London, a money city.
It is a money city. But I mean, all
Yeah,
you're going to see is a sea of suits. It's so freaky. It's a creepy experience just to see this freaking army of blue suits because they all wear the same color,
yeah. Well,
right?
you got to. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
right.
So it's
Can't stand
literally
out.
just
What
an army of suit and tie dudes just flowing through the subway systems.
How deep is that in Japan? You're there. You've been with these people a long time.
Oh
This
yeah.
this desire to never stand out.
Oh, it's pretty extreme.
Yeah,
You get some of the kids will do a little bit of stuff here and there, but not a lot.
yeah.
Occasionally, you get the weirdos on the edge, which wear the furry suits or
Right.
the maid girls, but they're very rare. For the
Mhm.
most part, everyone is very uniform in their
Prim and
way.
proper.
Yeah, although I have seen a shift this year, which is interesting. For quite a long time, the Japanese have been very demure. The women. I mean, I'm
Mm,
talking like Amish, right? Level,
yeah.
not
Mhm.
not a strip of
Too
skin
much.
showing.
Too
This
much is
year,
what you're
I've
saying.
seen a little bit more sexy going on, a little bit.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're Japanese chicks, and
I know it's not.
most of them are very pretty. They're very cute. They're very adorable, but sexy isn't really their
No,
their
no,
their
that's true.
milieu. Yeah.
But this year I've seen a little bit more attempts at it. I don't know what the shift was, but there seems to be a shift. Even the commercials, the girls are doing a little bit more sexy than the normal cute or
I'm
just
telling you,
annoying.
Chester, we're back, is what it is. And
Maybe.
all over the world, the masculine urge has won the day,
Yeah.
and the liberal order, as Putin calls it, just hasn't realized it yet. But it will. It will. It'll realize that its
Yeah.
time is done. It went
Yeah.
too hard into the feminine, and now the masculine urge, because this yin and yang is a very real force in
Mhm,
humanity. They we spiritualized it in the East, but it just exists. It just does.
mhm.
And when you lean too hard to one, eventually the pendulum swings back, and
Yeah.
that's where we're at. So you're going to start to see a little bit more sex appeal everywhere because the females, the ladies,
Mm.
they really, as much as they pretend, you see, they all play this game where I don't dress to appeal to men. No, you
Uh-huh.
dress to appeal. You dress to appeal to hot men. That's the
Yes.
difference. I understand,
Desirable
ladies.
men. Yeah.
You want the attractive men to look at you. You don't want random schlubs,
Yeah.
but the good-looking ones. I get it. See, men have an advantage here because I wouldn't say most women, but more women on average are attractive than men are. Most men are just kind of, if you don't have the personality, you're just not gonna,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get women's attention.
Yeah.
Some men don't have to be able to say one word. They
Mhm.
could be a mute, and the women will be all over
Yeah,
them.
I
It's
know,
just
that's
how it
me.
is.
That's me.
Yeah, it's just how it is. I'm like that with older women for some reason. They love me. They can't
Yeah.
get enough.
Yeah.
Uh, but all that said, I do think that the masculine urge has returned. If you look at the data all over the world in every industrialized country, I'd imagine Japan's the same. I know Korea's the same. The young men under 30 are hardcore into traditional masculinity.
Yeah.
Hardcore. Like they're making their
Yeah.
grandpas look like pussies. Like these guys are going hardcore. And that's a good thing
Yeah.
in the end because the balance must be preserved. The idea of, like I said, the yin and the yang, the as the occultists or the pagans would say, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, these are real. They're very real in society. Now they might not be like a physical real fact like a stone is, but in our psyche they exist. And in our collective psyche as a civilization of a species, they exist. And if you don't pay them heed, or if you lean too hard into one over the other, eventually there will be a backlash. And that's we've been going through a feminine backlash after the world wars,
Mhm.
because war is a masculine thing, and we've been going through that after these big world wars where we killed off, millions and millions of people. Um, and I do believe that's one of the reasons why there's been this hyper feminization of the world, of the whole world, not just the West, but pretty much everywhere that's been part of the international community has been feminized over the last 80 years. And I think that's just done now. That the young men have decided they will no longer tolerate it, and that's really all it takes.
No,
Once the
I'd
because
agree.
that's what the masculine is. The masculine is the feminine is the one that builds inside of the frame that the masculine sets. And when the masculine frame is weak, the feminine pushes the boundaries, then you get weird shit like trannies everywhere,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But then when the masculine frame says that's enough of that, that's it. That's literally daddy's home and that's it now. It's just the way our species is constructed. The masculine energy, it doesn't necessarily mean male or female, just the masculine energy is the energy of the dominance, of the power. The feminine energy is the energy of control. That's the difference. So that's why women are so good at manipulating, especially men. It's in fact our greatest weakness is how easily we manipulated we are by women. But it's
Oh,
also
that's
why
true.
men are so great at building just everything, right? We build civilization because we have the power, they have the control. That is when it's in its proper balance. When it gets out of whack, like it's been for the last 80 years or so, well, 60 years or so, uh, that's when you start to have problems. And that's where we've been. And I just think we're seeing a realignment. And I think that's why you're seeing that. I think the
Mhm.
women are responding to the increase in masculinity that's all around them all over the world. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's
No,
everywhere.
I wouldn't disagree with that. My son is certainly, of course, I raised them that way, but he certainly is very
Yes.
masculine. But we're seeing more and more boys here be like that, even though we're getting
Good.
pushback from the media. But yeah, no, I'll
Yeah,
give you
the
a good
feminine.
example of something that happened this weekend that was really cool. I'm up in Fukuoka walking to the restaurant, and it's kind of deep in a food drinking district. So just I just kind of got a taxi dropped off, and we walked in, right. And
Mm,
so I'm walking in, and there was a bunch of guys who had classic American muscle cars, pristine
nice.
condition, dude. Yeah, and they're just driving down the street slow, just showing off, right? And I come walking up. Of course, it drew a big smile on my face, and they see this big, giant white well, they don't know if I'm American, but big white guy, and then made them all smile. And they're like, "Yeah," I say, "Yeah, yeah, SS baby," and I first bumped the first guy driving as I'm walking by, and then I had to fist bump every other dude down the line, and the whole damn crowd is like going off, popping off. So it was a lot of fun. So white dude
Yeah, that's
made
cool.
a nuisance of himself, I guess.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now that was really neat to see because the Japanese are meticulous, right? So
Right.
when they do a restore, they do a restore, right?
Get in there.
They get in there, and they were beautiful. They did a great job. But that is one thing you gotta love about Japan, dude. It's doesn't matter the job. The Japanese are gonna do it to their best of their ability, which you should do. Everybody should do, right?
Hmm.
But even if you go to like convenience store or something like that, or like a fast food restaurant, you're going to get impeccable service.
Yep.
Yeah,
Meticulous.
yeah,
Meticulous.
they are meticulous.
Uh,
I
I
love
think
it.
you'll even see a big resurgence of because men, we like machines,
We do.
right? We like when things do other things because we tell them to, uh, because we create them to,
Hmm.
and I think you're going to see a big return to a machinist because my generation doesn't really have that as much. The grease monkeys, the gearheads,
Oh yeah,
right? But your generation definitely did. Like it
oh
was a
yeah.
whole
And the
thing, a
new
whole
generation,
subculture.
yeah.
Yeah, and the new gen definitely has that. My nephew, his name is Andrew. He he's very much that type of guy. He wears cowboy boots everywhere he goes. He's got a mullet. It's like he walked right out of the 80s. And he's 20. So what I'm saying is
It's good.
it's coming. He's
Yeah.
also in great shape. Like he keeps himself in good shape. It's just I'm telling you, there's a new this new generation is definitely different than the millennials. And that's a good thing because the millennials, as I am one,
Well,
we suck.
yeah. No,
Um,
I think the millennials are the dying gasps of it. Really, is what it
yeah,
is. Because
yeah,
in general, the millennials are such an extreme version of pathetic.
yes,
It's so
I agree.
extreme. Yeah.
I totally agree. Uh, but I was lucky. I was raised basically as a Gen X because I'm what some call like a Zennial because I'm effectively a Gen X, but I fall in the like right in the gap. Um, so I was raised very much like they were. I wasn't raised like the millennials were, which was basically not at all effectively. And I think that's one of the reasons why I could see it differently than most of the other ones, and just look at them and go like, "What are you doing with yourself? Like you're a whole mess right here. We need a whole team of doctors on you, bud."
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
and then
think
you have this next gen that's coming up, and largely, yes, they do have a lot of issues, more issues than other generations. But then the other way, the way the world works, and people for some reason refuse to accept this reality, is there's no such thing as a singular extreme. If there's an extreme one way, there's an extreme the other way. We live in a
oh,
reciprocal
sure.
universe, always and forever. There is nothing that is unique. We like to think that there is. We like to think that this great thing is unique, but for every great thing, there's a terrible thing. For every terrible thing, there's a great thing. So if you have a generation that is horrifically confused and on all sorts of medication, the opposite side of that is that you also have then underneath them the opposite, right? These people who are very self-assured, they're very hardworking, they're very whatever the opposite of that extreme is, exists in equal or great or around the same numbers basically.
Hmm.
And I think that's why you see with Gen Z it's so all over the map. So the women are a mess. They're an absolute Chester, these young women are a fucking mess. Like
Yeah, I've noticed.
not even just with arrogance and this weird ego. Women have always had ego. Like let's not pretend. But they're just a mess.
Yeah,
They
I've
have these
noticed.
unbelievable standards that no woman in the history of ever should have ever have. Not even princesses would have had these standards. Not
The
even kings
entitlement. Yeah.
marrying their princesses would have had these standards. But they have these standards that are just insane. Here's what they expect. They expect you to do all of the work, but not too much of the work when it comes to the relationship dynamic, you see, because then you're doing too much and now she feels bad. They expect you, but then also at the same time they don't want to put in anything, right? So everything just needs to work out perfectly, fall into place with no effort, no nothing at all. It's complete fairy tale bullshit. They were all raised by the Disney Channel or people who think like the Disney Channel. And because of that, you have a whole bunch of women who think their shit don't stink. They think they're all
Yeah,
entitled to be Belle from Beauty and the Beast and end
right.
up living in a giant mansion with a beautiful former
Oh
Beast
no,
prince.
we
That's what they think.
we've talked about it, and it's
Yeah.
it's quite outrageous. I think part of it, I mean, the feminism's always been on the bottom of it, but I think one of the things that pushed us into where we are at this particular moment with young ladies is, see, in the '80s, everything was quite balanced between men and women, right?
Mm,
Everyone had their role and no one had a problem with it, right? But in
right.
the '90s, you know, the amount of designer drugs and the amount of stuff that was going on, and it became very male leaning controlling of sex, which is not normal, right?
No.
But it got out of control, and there were several events in the '90s that were unfortunate, to put it in a very nice way, right? That one particular Woodstock in the '90s, some really bad shit took place, right? But there was a real backlash to that, and I think that's part of where we are now, because we went past the, you know, what the '80s was, or even into, you know, where the ladies had a little bit more say, as they should. We've gone into an extreme example of the women, but we've talked about all of this stuff. One of the things I've seen recently that adds to this conversation is with them restarting, you know, collecting on college debt, right?
Yep.
Which, you know, of course. But these mainly all a bunch of girls. I haven't seen many guys, but it's mostly girls are really bitching about the fact that they have to pay back their loan. And it's like, well,
Hmm.
you know, you signed a contract, therefore
Hmm.
you're culpable. It's not very complicated. But I remember
Hmm.
listening here in the past week, a couple of girls coming out and saying that, well, you know, college loans are not like an auto loan or a house loan, you know. And it's like, well, no, they're exactly like that, precisely so.
The main difference with them, and this I do think is wrong, because it takes away the corrective mechanism that the market has built into it for everything else. You can't discharge them in bankruptcy,
No, and
and
that is weird. But
yeah, that shouldn't be allowed.
right, that's not really the problem with college. I mean, with there are two
No, the problem with
conversations
college
here.
is the government got involved and
Yeah,
decided to guarantee loans that it has
and
no business
therefore
in, and
therefore
it
it was
just
like an
jacked
addict
up
on
the price.
drugs, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
the colleges broke now. That situation needs to be fixed. College
Yeah,
tuitions need to be brought down. The colleges need to be brought to
the
heel.
bubble
That's
needs
all
to be
true.
popped.
Yeah, yeah.
The bubble needs
I
to be
mean,
popped.
that's all true, but that's a different conversation.
Hmm.
That is not the same conversation. If you sign a contract, you are culpable for that contract, and that's the end of it. That's the end
Yeah,
of it. That's it, right? But so many of these girls don't, and they're coming up with all kind of crazy, lame, inane reasons why that's not fair. And of course, none of it makes any sense. No, you're the idiot that decided to take out $200,000 in college loans for a frickin' gender studies degree. That's on you.
yeah,
And they keep going on about how dumb everybody who didn't go to college is, and they don't understand the economics. And I would say, no, you're the dumbass. You are the
yeah. Well,
dumbass
depending what you went
who,
for, yeah,
well, I'm just saying, you went and you decided to study this thing. You didn't, and for the cost that it was given to you, right? And we can argue
yeah,
that that needs to be fixed. That's fine, but it doesn't matter. You're saying, okay, I'm going to do a gender study or something similar that does nothing for you, and I'm going to spend 150, $200,000 on doing this. All right. So you know what you're spending, you know what you're getting. So did you bother to take any look and see, okay, well, what kind of job can I get with this degree, and how long will it take me to pay off that 200,000 that I have invested in? This is part of being an adult, right? It's part of it. And all these idiots that went out and got degrees that have no value. Now, some of them went after things, you know, that well, they will be able to pay it off within probably 7 to 10 years, and that's good. That's what the point is. But so many of these, especially women, they just got stupid degrees that basically qualifies them for being a barista at Starbucks.
I think, while I agree with what you're saying, I think the only actual solution is to pop the bubble. And the only way to pop the bubble is to either default on it. The government has to default on these loans because they're not going to get the money. It's just let's just face reality. These people aren't paying this money back. It's just not going to happen. You could try and extract it from the colleges if you want, but you're still not going to get enough. The bubble's I think $4 trillion, something like that. Uh, that's owed. That's outstanding.
Mhm.
The reality is the majority of these ones that aren't being paid off haven't been being paid on, or at least not in a significant number. You're just never going to see that money. You're chasing dragons if you think you, unless you're going to enslave these people and make them work it
Well,
off.
why not? They
Uh,
need a little bit of humility.
Even that's still not going to cover it. Like the reality is the government, because it did what it does, it meddled in shit shouldn't have been meddling in,
Hmm.
jacked up the price of college
Yep.
for everybody. There wasn't a time not too long ago, within the last half a century, you could go to college and work a part-time job and pay for it. That was real.
Oh
That
yeah, no, of
happened.
course they could. You still do that in Japan and many other countries.
Yes. So the government here fucked us.
Yeah.
The only real solution long term is, yes, these people should, I agree with you, they should pay back their loans. But the reality is they're not going to. There's no way to force them to in America. We have too many protections on the market and things like we don't have debtors' prisons and shit like that. Well, unless you don't pay child support, but that's a different topic. Uh, these sorts of things exist in this country for a reason, and they should exist in this country for a reason because people who give out financial loans need to understand that part of the risk of doing that is that you may never get your money back. Every other institution that gives out a loan understands this, but for some reason the federal government thinks it's special. You're
Yeah,
not.
no, I understand that. They've really blown up the colleges beyond what they're valued. I mean,
Yeah.
even back in my day in the 80s, now I went to Brown, now which is, expensive Ivy League school. But
Yeah.
when I went to university for 1 year, that's 2 semesters, it was about $40,000, right? So
Yep.
you're looking at 120. Then of course it went up a little bit, so it's like that would be 200 and like about 250 to 280,000 to get what I got. But I didn't pay for anything because I had a scholarship, but that's a different conversation. But that's a lot of money in the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know what frickin' Brown costs now.
A
Triple?
lot,
Is it like close to $1 million?
probably.
I don't know, but I wouldn't even want to look at it. But the problem is what I just gave you is mine, which you understand. This is top of the planet,
Hmm.
one of the highest rating schools, universities on Earth,
Is it
right?
still?
Still, oh
Is
yeah,
Brown still
God,
better?
yeah, Brown, dude,
Yep.
Cambridge, Oxford, Brown, Harvard,
Yep.
Yale, MIT. These are the top end ones, right?
Right.
So the point I'm trying to make is what I paid to go to one of the which I anyway, what I paid to go to one of the best universities on earth is an average state university now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a problem.
Do you understand how
The only,
ridiculous that is? And how much
yes.
has pay gone up, right? Like, for
Oh, outrageous
instance,
amount.
when I was a kid, college job, now I did other things, but you could probably get a job as a college kid. You probably make 6, 7 bucks an hour, right? When I
Mhm.
was young. What is it now?
Well, it depends on where you get it, but most places are gonna be in between 12 and 10 and 12, 10 to $15 an hour.
Okay.
Even
And
even
that's low
even
end.
fast food
That's
joints.
low
Yeah,
end.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
let's
you're
take,
not, you can't really live off of that unless you got a bunch of roommates and stuff in most
right.
most cities. There's no way.
So
There's no way.
let's take the low end and say that income is doubled. Okay.
Mhm.
Which I kind of doubt that because you also have to put in the cost inflation of the cost of things.
Exactly.
In honesty, I'd say I haven't done the math, but just off the top of my head, it's probably more like 20% increase.
I don't even think
So
it's that. If when you actually look at the real market value, like the purchasing power of the dollar and stuff, it's actually gone down effectively.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, but
yeah,
let's just say 20% just for safety's sake,
yeah.
because it's easy math. If we look at 20%, and if a standard university, which was probably sitting at about 20% of the cost to, or even 10% of the cost to go to Brown back when I was a kid, and it's risen up to the point it is now. So what is that? That's a 10 times or 100% increase, 10 times increase, right? And your income has increased by a mere 20%, so not even a single point, of actual increase, right? Um, that's insane. The
Yeah.
inflation on universities is out of control, dude. You can't even begin to think about getting out from underneath that drowned. That's really
Right.
bad. I mean, look at the math on that guy. That's
Okay, so I looked it up.
ridiculous.
I looked it up. Are you ready?
I
Chester, are
am.
you ready? This is how much it costs to go to 1 year at Brown.
Oh, Jesus.
They have it listed on here even. $95,984 for 1
It's
year,
more than
2025,
double.
2026. Yeah. And
More
that's
than
not even
double.
like that's just your basic in the door situation, right?
Right.
Uh that's insane. That's insane amount of money.
Yeah,
That
and that's not
not
covering dormitories, food, books, just
No,
life
that's everything.
costs.
That's everything. That's housing, food,
Oh, it is.
and
Okay.
miscellaneous personal expenses roughly is what they say, but it's probably gonna be more than that.
Yeah, that's a lot, dude. That's more than double than when I was a kid. Like I said, I'm not comparing myself because
This is
I had a
worth going
scholarship. I
on.
didn't have to pay anything. But that's not the point. The point being is, so what you're telling me is the Ivy League has not increased its costs as much as state.
No,
The
right,
states are
correct.
have increased way more than the Ivy League.
Yeah, because they make money. They make a ton of money off of it. They
That's
turn these
insane, dude.
nonprofit, universities into they're for profit. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
And then
well,
what they do is they get all sorts of kickbacks at the top, is what
yeah.
happens. And then they
Well,
also can use the money to uh, pay for their sports teams, which generates
right.
a ton of revenue for a lot of these
And of course,
colleges.
they can generate more revenue on the back end of it. But
Yep.
see, one of the things was when I was young, we had Pell Grants, we had various grants, and that's not government money. That's a separate thing that grants to exceptional students, right?
Mhm.
It's not government. But the problem was, I don't know if it was before I went to university, during or after, but it was around the time I was at university. They had a thing that they brought in called guaranteed student loans.
Yep.
That's where they fucked it, right there. That's
That's
what
what they
did it.
pretty much all are now,
Yeah,
um, through the federal government. Yeah, no, that absolutely. And the only way for that situation to get better is it's going to have to be defaulted on. The money simply doesn't exist. The people that they give out bad loans, and just like what should have happened in 2008 when banks were giving out bad loans and bad mortgages, the person who gives it out should be the one who has to pay for it, not everybody else. You made a bad business decision. Tough shit. That's what happens.
yeah,
If I go into the loan business and I start giving out bad loans to bad creditor or bad credit people, whatever you call them, uh, that's on me. I did the dumb thing.
yeah. You did. Yeah, that's
Let's
right.
say I open up pizzeria. I open up a pizzeria, and I happen to open up this pizzeria in like a place where I don't know. There's a bunch of Arabs, and they don't eat pizza. I don't know if Arabs eat pizza, but let's just say they don't, and they don't eat pizza. Right? I won't make it halal for them. I make straight up regular pizza. They're Muslims. They want it a certain way. Well, that's on me. I'm dumb, and I made a dumb decision.
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm.
It's the same thing here. The government is dumb. They've been dumb. They done been dumb for a long time, and they made a dumb decision. They need to pay the
Right.
piper on this,
And of
and the
course,
only way to do that is through a default. And then maybe the system can get fixed because there is solutions to this system. The system's not completely unsalvageable. What needs to happen is the government can provide the money. However, the universities must guarantee something. They got to put some
yeah,
kind of collateral into this, whether it's they're going to help you get a job, they're only going to take this money for degrees that produce a high amount of career, like you're going to get it like engineers and shit. You're going to actually get a job with this degree most likely.
right,
Uh, there needs to be some form of assurances from them, and they need to back it up. And if they
right.
cannot for whatever reason, fulfill that aspect of it, then the university don't get dick. They
Yeah, no,
lose.
I personally believe that the government should get out of the business of education. The federal government should get out of the business of education
Yeah,
completely. Completely.
yeah. I would make
I
this
don't think
even
the
for
federal
private
government should
loans.
be involved.
So even if you go to some, organization, a bank, whatever, and get a private student loan, those exist.
Of
The
course.
same regulations should apply. The universities must provide some form of guarantee to this money. And the fact that this isn't already a standard shows you that it's nothing but a big scheme. It's a big Ponzi scheme, and these people in these universities are getting kickbacks and what have you. Because there's no other business in the world where you're going to loan money and not demand terms. What are you doing? Of course you're going to demand terms. If I go to buy a car, right? And I know this because I used to sell cars. The bank doesn't just give the car dealership money because they asked. No, no, no. No, they have terms. And one of those terms is if this guy doesn't pay, you go collect the car again. You go collect that car from them, and then we'll sell it again. But regardless, there are so many terms to normal loans, even a mortgage, even any loan you take out is going to have terms and conditions. And of course, student loans do too. But why is one of those terms not that this will give me a job? Why are my what is this gamble? Now if I fuck around and I fuck up and I do stupid shit, okay, fine. But the piece of paper is supposed to be a foot in the door to some industry somewhere, right? If
Right.
there's no guarantees on that, then what are we doing here? Like we're literally selling people a bill of goods, and then we're getting all Pikachu faced about it when nobody can afford to do anything. Well, of course not. You're selling them nothing.
Yeah, no, it's
You're
true.
basically selling them nothing.
But if we take a look at, because in the 70s is when we had a big shift economically, right? That's from in the 70s forward is when things stopped going up and everything started going down, right? The 70s was a pivoting point for America and therefore the world, right? But if we go back in the 70s, we take a look, your standard kind of undergraduate schools, I'm not talking about Ivy League, just standard schools, your tuition was around $2,500 a year,
Hmm.
right? And then room and board, and books and equipment and personal expenses. You're looking at another 2 grand. So you're looking at $5,000 a year to go to university in the 70s. Now anybody could pull that off. Anybody
Yeah.
could pull it off. Little help from mom and dad, and a little bit of a part-time job, maybe a little bit of the next decade paying some stuff off potentially. But anyone that was, if we go further back, it's going to be even cheaper. But just the 70s is a good turnaround point for America, right? But I
Right.
mean, and then graduate costs, if you go to master's or PhD or something like that, it's very similar. It's not actually much more expensive. Of course, these days, I mean, what did you say it was for Brown? 90 something
Uh,
thousand dollars.
yeah, 96,000, I think. Yeah, 95,984.
So that's 18 times more expensive.
Yeah.
That's insane. And of course, our income has not increased that much
No. In fact, it's like I said, it's actually gone down. The
because
number's
of
gotten
inflation.
bigger,
That's right.
but how much you can actually buy with it has gotten much
Drastically
smaller.
reduced. Yeah.
Yeah.
So education is is badly broken and out of control, and they need to. There's a lot of things that need to be done. We'll see, but I think they're on the right track. I mean, just kind of reversing the Biden thing and getting people at least in the inception of start paying things back, and then we'll see where we can go from there, right?
Mhm.
But really, what they need to do is get the federal government out of the business of education completely, 100%. The federal
Yes.
government should have nothing to do with it. The states, sure, right? But then that's state to state, right, on how they do. And what you need to do is go back and lean more on grants because it sounds like what you're saying is there's hardly any more grant systems. It's all just guaranteed student loan.
No, there's still grants, but the vast majority is gonna be a
Yeah.
regular student loan.
Well, because when
Yeah.
I was young, Pell Grant was a big one for exceptional students. I had a Carnegie grant. There are others, right? For
Right.
depending on what it's for. Pell is for, kids who are just really smart but don't have money, and Carnegie is more for artistically talented people.
Right.
right? And I'm sure there are many, many others. I don't know, but yeah, no, it needs to be done. But for me, beyond that conversation is very separate from the morons that are starting to give reasons why they shouldn't pay their debt back, and they're being so smug about it.
Yeah, well,
It's
that's
like,
the issue, right? Is how smug they are about it. The reality is, I agree with them on a surface level, simply because the system isn't sustainable. So why are we funding it? And but their attitude towards that is just insufferable. Just shut up. It's
well,
one of
they,
these things like you have the winning. Well, it's not even an argument. You're in the winning situation for you, whether you know it or not. Just shut up. Just shut up and win. Just shut
yeah,
up and win. Eventually, that bubble's going to pop. I think the best solution is to pop it ourselves.
I agree.
And
Yeah,
I wish Trump would, or somebody could get in his ear and get him to take that seriously. And I get that the economic downturn is going to hurt because it is, but it's necessary. It needs to be done.
yeah.
This is an infected pus filled growth on our backs here. It needs to be popped and drained,
Well,
and then we need a better system.
yeah, and but it's also about education in general, right? Because I've been around a while, and I've met all kind of people on all kind of fields. I'm in a kind of position where I get to meet all kinds of people. But the smartest people I run into on a day to day basis are blue collar people, particularly
Yep.
farmers. Farmers are freaking ridiculously genius because they have to be. They got to figure out all kind of ways to get things done. But your plumbers, electricians, these people are practical. They do math in their head. I mean, do you understand the basic math necessary to create a proper pivot point?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of math, right? To
Do it
have a
instantly.
to well, not only to if you're going to put two pipes together and you want to have a grease fitted pipe, you not only do you have to measure and have proper geometry for your pipe, but you also have to bring in the fluid volume of the grease you're going to use for it to work properly.
Yep.
There's a lot of math and brain that needs to go into that, and
And
these
you know
are
what's crazy is most of these guys can just do it. They don't even
in
have to
their
think about
head.
it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, they just
ridiculous.
know.
These are very smart people. Engineers are smart too.
Yep.
Everything else, it depends on the individuals. I teach doctors all the time, dude, and they're not
They're
necessarily
dumb.
very smart at all.
I've only listen. My mother worked in a hospital for 35 years, so I was in a hospital a lot because sometimes I would, go hang out with her or whatever when I was younger. And all the people knew us in this hospital and knew her. And I'm telling you, I met in that time maybe three doctors who I genuinely thought were smart people.
Yeah.
Not that they weren't good doctors. These other doctors were fine. They're
Oh,
great
they're
at what
very
they did,
specialized. They're usually good at that. Yeah.
but they're not intelligent. If
No,
you try to give them
no,
something else to figure out, they're done.
that's
You
right.
they're
Because
punched out, go home. They're
and the
done.
nurses are because they're the ones that do all the work anyway.
Yes, yeah, especially old nurses. You can find an old nurse, especially an old black nurse. They're hilarious. But if you can find an old nurse, she ain't got time for these dumb doctors. She'll tell them right to their face that they're wrong. You love watching it because the old nurses just don't have time. They probably know more than that doctor. They just don't have the fancy little piece of paper. Uh,
Yeah,
I love watching them work because they're amazing. But young nurses, the ones who think that they're already the old nurses, they think they're the old grizzled veterans. There's nothing more annoying than a
that's
young
true.
nurse who thinks she
Nah, I
knows
get your
everything.
point.
It's like, bitch,
Yeah.
shut up. You don't
But
know what you're talking about.
my
She
point
does.
yeah.
You don't.
But my point being is most of the university degrees aren't going to make you smarter than you
No.
are. And seeing as we have such a high in America, a high quantity of people who can't even do math properly upon graduating high school, cannot read at a proper level that they are of graduating high school, but yet they go right into university. That is beyond me. And of course, it's because we've lowered the entrance restrictions, which is another thing that needs to be lifted. We need to do two. Yeah, I understand what you talk about the financing, but two things need to happen. We need to go back to the standard we used to have back in the 60s, 70s, even 80s, because they didn't really start messing with it until late 80s, early 90s. Go back to that standard. For one, I think that's very, very important. And stop funding these social degrees. Stop it. If you want to have an arts university and you want to go and get what, however you can pay for it to do that, go right ahead. But these big universities should be what they're there for. They're basically trade schools for more complicated trades.
Yep.
Right? You can go to 2 years and learn to become a carpenter and then go become an apprentice and eventually become a journeyman, et cetera, right? But if you wanna
Mhm.
be a doctor or engineer or some kind of scientist or what have you, pharmaceutical chemist or what have you, it just takes a little bit more time. They're trade schools, they're just longer trade schools. That's what we
Yeah.
need to do. And all of these art things, I mean, I saw a little thing my wife was watching, and it was just this girl after girl talking about how they're about to graduate and mentioning their degrees. Not single one of them had a degree worth shit.
Correct.
It was all social things, and a lot of them were like decolonizing modern academia. What the fuck is even that?
That, Chester, is, anti-white bigotry. That's what it is. They
Yeah,
hate
but
white
you're going to
people.
spend 4 years and
Yes,
$200,000 to get that?
to hate white people. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how much
but
they
they're
hate white people.
mostly white people.
Yeah, yeah, well, they're white women, let's careful with that
Oh, they
P
are
word.
white. That's true.
Yeah, they're white liberals, so, commies,
Yeah,
people, it's a gray area. But anyway, no, it's it's just pure bigotry. This we're gonna
it is.
decolonize. So basically, you're just gonna get rid of all the white people who actually discovered
Well,
and
yeah,
came up
but
with everything.
every
That's what you're gonna do.
culture on planet Earth colonizes.
Yeah, but
Every
white
single
people are
one.
better at it. Chester, the problem isn't that the other places don't do it, it's that white people are better at it, and they
Well,
can't
we were
handle it.
better at it more recently, but you go back in
It's just
history, that's not
pure
true.
envy, Chester. The
All
entire
right,
thing is
fine.
based off of
No, I
envy
can see
and
that.
a
I can see that.
inferiority
I
complex.
saw a
And it's
girl.
also because the whites in the last 700 years or so were so good at war compared to everybody else. Like, of course, they got an inferiority complex.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
hundred white dudes popped off a boat and took over the whole country.
No, that's true. I mean, well, that's just modern. The modern flow is in the Northern European zone, is all. Uh,
Yeah,
we can look through history, and of course, it moves around. But I saw this one black girl, and she's not the only one, but the one that pops in my head right now. And she was going on and complaining about the having to pay her loans back, and then, of course, she went in and tirade as how white people are inferior, black people are superior humans, and yada yada yada. You've heard it before,
huh?
and it's becoming more
Mhm.
prevalent. But while she's saying that, using words like colonizer and white people have no culture, yeah, et cetera, I've heard it all before. I'm sitting
In
there
English,
looking at this girl. She's got white people hair. She's
that's right.
wearing white people clothes.
That's right.
Everything in her whole life is white people culture. And of course,
What was her
she's
name?
speaking my language. I don't know, probably Shaniqua,
I bet you it wasn't. I bet you she had one of the whitest names you've ever heard on a black girl ever. I bet you. I
maybe,
bet you she did. Like
maybe
Ashley. She's
Tanya.
just out here being Ashley. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, everything about you is white.
Yep.
So what is it you're bitching about? Are you bitching about yourself? And of course, it was an American girl. So you do realize that Black Americans, the reason why we call them Black and not Africans, right? They are 60% European. They're mainly
That's right.
white people. It's
Correct.
just the black genes they're robust, baby.
Thick.
They are. They stick with you for generations and generations, man. But the average black person, that's why we call them blacks. Because people said mulatto and they get upset about it. Right? I mean,
Which is strange.
you get some actual Africans coming into America too, but those people don't bitch and they make money.
And they don't have any time for their, so-called
Oh
brothers.
no, they can't
That's
stand
one of
black
them.
Americans. Yeah, but I
They
mean,
don't like 'em.
yeah. Now I'm not saying black African. The actual Africans aren't, don't have violence troubles and aren't a bit rapey because they are, but
Just
they're
a bit, just
very
a bit.
different attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, this whole thing is going on. I've been trying to get to read. Let me read the chat real quick here, because they had some questions. When are they going to make you a grandfather? My wife said I wasn't allowed to ask.
Did you ask, though? Did you ask your son? Don't lie.
Yeah, Yeah. But it's okay. I mean, of course, with both of them working, he's I mean, he's still young and in training. But I know he is getting paid pretty well. But long run, he's going to make, solid money. And she works for the government, so that's at least 3 grand a month, 3,500 a month or something like that. So they're
Mhm.
doing fine, dude. They have both my kids, they're doing great,
'Cause
right?
she his fiancée or wife or whatever she is, does she want kids? Because I know that's a whole thing over
They
there in
both
Japan,
do. They
these young
do. They
ladies.
do. They do.
That's good.
I'm probably not. I shouldn't talk about that live. But yeah, no, they no, they do. They do. There's just some. I think there's some complication. But
Ah.
it is what it is. It's unfortunate. But
Mm.
we'll see how it works out. But which is great for me because I don't have to sweat anything, dude. I don't. I mean, of course, I have money always on the side in case of emergency. Typical, right? Normal. Everybody does that. But
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't have to sweat it, man. I don't have to pay for anything. I don't have to worry about my kids at all. You know?
So, are you gonna leave them a bunch of money when you die, or are you just gonna take it to the grave?
Oh no, no. I'm sure. Well, it'll go to my wife. I'm sure I'll die first. But no, of course, it'll get dumped evenly
Well,
into
she
the
is
kids.
Japanese, she'll live till she's 307, so it's
That's
fine.
true. That is true.
Yeah.
But no, of course it'll get dropped to the kids. That's the intention. I actually have like locked CDs already in the kids' names, but they won't
Mm,
know. They won't they won't know they exist until they're in their 30s. Um,
excellent.
but yeah, no, of course I prepared for my family.
Well, because,
Uh,
there's a lot of people out there who have this new mindset, I guess it's not well, no, it is new, let's be honest, where I'm not gonna leave anything for my kids, like, why?
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 What
What
was
are you
the
gonna do with it? You're
what
dead.
was
What are you
yeah,
doing?
yeah, but what was the point?
Just to be selfish? I don't know. I genuinely don't understand that mindset. I get where they're coming from, some of them, they want their children to be disciplined and, not to be spoiled and not to da da da. I get that. However, there's ways to teach that without making them struggle unnecessarily. There's ways
Yeah,
to
no, no,
teach
no.
that without taking
Sure,
away their birthright.
don't dump money on kids that are in their 20s. Don't do that. Yeah,
No.
don't do that. Let them build themselves up and learn how to be. But long run, sure, you want to be able to take care of your kids or just simply transfer the money. Now, one of the things that helps me out, um, there are other ways to go about it, and I've talked about economics a little here on this channel. But Singapore is a good option, but I was able to finagle myself into Swiss bank accounts, which is hard. It is hard.
It is.
But if you can
Extremely.
finagle your way in, that's where you want to be, right? But Yeah, no, I've set up all that kind of stuff. But like I said, there isn't any stress going on. The kids don't need anything. And it's quite nice because I know with my dad, for instance, the guy worked hard his whole life, right? He's
Mhm,
hardworking, nose down type of dude, right? And that's where I
mhm,
get it from, I'm sure. He's
mhm,
blue collar guy and I'm a white collar guy, but still, I get it from him. But
mhm.
One thing I don't know if it really had anything to do with him, but it had to do with me. But I never caused my father a burden. He
Mm,
never had to send he don't have to give me money. He doesn't have, to get phone calls in the middle of the night. Get none of that shit from me.
yeah.
I'm
From
100%
you, anyway.
independent from me. Yeah. I cannot say the same for my other siblings.
Mm,
So therefore he's always kind of having to be an emergency fund for the people around him, right?
right.
Now, I prepared myself to be the same because, I'm a father, but I don't
Mm,
have to be.
that's
It,
good.
it, it is an interesting thing. Let's see, keep going on. Roger says Emperor Shi is in quite a pickle, isn't he, Chester? Oh, yeah, he is. Now, what he's doing is purging and
Temporarily.
killing any military person he even thinks isn't 100% loyal. There's a lot of murder going on in China right now.
Which
Um,
tells me that he is, fully aware that his reign is
oh, he's
very,
in big
uh,
trouble. All the
very
province
close to an end.
Yeah, because you could basically break China down into five pieces. I mean, you could argue seven, but really it's five. And all of them are in complete rebellion, even Beijing, which is his power base. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, China is in a very, very bad situation, even before Trump started putting the hammer on them.
Well, this is one of the reasons why. You were talking about it, and I've said stuff to it as well. China's powerful. We're not going to sit here and say they're not,
Of course they are.
because they always have been. They
Economically.
have been since
Yeah.
always, pretty much. Um, but their power is very limited because they're also incredibly incompetent. Just
That's yeah.
at a fundamental level. If they were as if the Chinese were as competent as the Japanese, and let's say you had the Japanese with their meticulousness and their competency, and you injected it into China,
Wow.
and they somehow they had all of that territory and all these resources and all this economic power and manufacturing behind them in a way that they haven't had ever really. Um, wow, exactly is the
Wow.
right word. They would be unbelievably powerful.
That would be
But
in trouble.
China well, they tried. They tried to take China, and we stopped them. China is unbelievably incompetent. The Communist Party, the CCP, they rule through pure brutality because they have to, not because they want
Yeah.
to. They don't have a choice because they're incompetent. True competent rulers shouldn't have to do that and don't have to do that. All throughout history, especially even in China, when you have a good emperor, a good
Yeah, like
leader, whatever,
The Ming Dynasty. Yeah.
yeah, they don't have to be brutal. They
No.
can be. There's times where they will be, but they don't have to be. They
No.
don't have to rule
Because
that
they're
way.
efficient.
Yes. And that's what China's problem has been since forever at this
Yeah.
point. It's been a very long time.
It has been.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it's not going to get any better until their mindset changes. And
Well,
I hope that's happening. We'll see.
I really I not 100% sure, but I'm confident. I think China's going to break into five pieces.
That'd be
I
nice.
really think it
It'd be
is.
better for everybody,
It would be
honestly.
better for everyone there anyway, because then they'll become very competitive to each other, and that will improve the situation. But to give an example, an ongoing example of the corruption and just silliness of China, um, we had a big earthquake over here in Burma, right, a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and it was very sad, right? But way over in Bangkok, a building fell down, right?
Mm,
And it's a bit far away from the epicenter for that to have happened. And everyone was kind of curious what it was. Well, turns out it's a Chinese project from a Chinese company, which of course means the CCP because they own everything.
that's right.
And they were going through and looking at the rubble and moving it out, trying to find living people or retrieve bodies, as you do. And they started looking at the rebar because a lot of times you'll see the Chinese either won't use rebar at all, which is just disaster waiting to happen, or they'll use
Hmm.
cheap steel, or they'll use very little rebar, or they'll fill it with like cardboard. I'm not joking.
What's the
Um,
problem?
yeah,
Oh,
but this
cardboard.
time they found it and they were looking at the rebar as they were pulling it out. And would you like to guess what the rebar was made of?
I'm guessing not rebar iron materials.
No,
Hmm.
foam. No,
Yeah.
hold on a second. Foam that was patterned to look like rebar.
That's right. Yeah. I don't what's the issue? Seems perfectly it looks the same. What's the problem?
Yeah.
What's the problem?
This
It's
is China.
it's amazing to me. You see, there's this video out there, Chester, of this gentleman. He's a black gentleman actually. And he's trying to get the African peoples, all of the disparate nations of Africa,
Uh-huh.
to stop being retarded, basically, right? Because
Fair
they're
enough.
just as a block, there's a lot of retardation. Apparently, I don't know if it's all the languages or many of the languages you'd probably know. There's not a word in a lot of these African languages for maintenance. The concept they don't understand because they
No.
have no term for it.
Well, let me
They have a
see.
term for repair, but repair is different than maintenance. Maintenance is what you do to prevent the need for repair. That's
Well,
the
hold on a
point of
second.
maintenance.
I'm going through a lexicon here in my head. Give me a second. I only speak two African languages. I don't speak them. Only two African languages, Pele and Gu. Um, huh. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not recalling a word for maintenance.
No maintenance. The concept to them they don't
There
understand.
is a word to fix something though.
Yes, but that's different. You see, you do maintenance so you don't have to fix things down the line. That's why we do maintenance. Now, in every European language, obviously, there's a term for maintenance, and I would hope in China there's a term for maintenance as well. But my point is, a lot of these places that want to have true first world civilization that want to be at the apex of human endeavor, there's certain things in their psyche, in their language, in their culture that doesn't permit it. I'll give you the one that's the West's problem right now. We are far too caring. We give way too many shits about everybody else. Way too many. We have this innate desire to help everyone, right? So we let them come into our countries.
Mm,
Well, some of us do. Let them flood in. We try and give all this charity. We try and do all this so nobody starves. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying people need to starve, but it lessens us on a material level, right? This desire to try and it's what killed Rome. If you go back, it's one of the things that killed Rome. They thought they were bringing the light of Rome to the world. Well, really, all they were doing was making Rome darker. Um, this desire is innate to the West. It's one of the reasons why the notion of charity in Christianity took such strong hold here. Uh, but you go to other cultures, China, for instance. One of their biggest desires is to never get caught falling for something. They don't want to get bamboozled, right? If you
right.
get bamboozled, that's on you. You're the sucker. Ha ha ha.
China.
Not that the guy bamboozled you. No, no, no.
No, no,
That
no,
guy's the winner.
no.
You're the piece of shit. You see, because you got bamboozled. This innate desire to permit deceit causes all of these incompetency problems in China. All
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Because if they just got rid of that and went back to, and they've done this before, and culturally, back to making truth preeminent. Truth is the thing that matters. Tell the truth, be honorable, da 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 da.
I don't know if China's ever had that, dude.
Well, they've had variations of it. It's one of the reasons why they had innovations at different points.
I
Is they had
suppose
a
under the
pursuit of
Ming
truth.
Dynasty, if you got
Yeah,
caught lying as to where it ended up costing money, there
yeah.
was punishment. You know.
In Persia, for a time, if you got caught lying at a grant like that, basically to the in public on matters public, you got exiled. Just see ya, get out,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
gone. Um, my point is, these are the times that these cultures ascend. Is when they make truth the preeminent value. So we have like in Africa, they don't even have a word for maintenance in a
Well,
lot of these
I
languages. It's
researched it.
why
I
Africa
found
is
they
like
do.
that.
They do have a word for maintenance. I found it. Would you
Uh oh,
want
what
to
is
know
it?
what it is?
Maintenance?
Entrian.
Is that French?
Yeah,
That
it
sounds
is.
French.
It's French.
Yeah. My point is, every single one of these cultures around the world, even ours, has a weakness, has a grave weakness, one that is innate to the people there for whatever reason. Who knows? There's probably a litany of literature written about it, uh, but it's real. And China's one causes a severe, deep incompetence in what it does because they're so afraid of getting bamboozled that in order to prevent that, they can never just be honest about anything ever, ever, ever. So
No,
they
they're
have
pretty
to
bad.
always be lying because if you're not lying, then you're getting lied to, and then you're the sucker. And I can't be the sucker.
Mm,
So you get things like foam rebar, and you
right.
get all sorts of nonsense because I bamboozled that guy. Yeah, but like 100 people died. Eh, he shouldn't have got bamboozled. What do you want? What do you want from me?
And
Um,
there's another issue too in China where, the Chinese are incredibly litigious, like Americans.
yes.
But American litigiousness is based upon law and order,
Hmm.
right? And it's too much. I think we all agree. But in
Yeah.
China, for instance, let's say you're in China, and you're a Chinese person, and you accidentally hit someone with your car. It's much cheaper for you and less a jail time for you if you make sure you back over them and make sure they're dead. You see.
Yes. That's right. Kill him.
Yeah,
Kill him dead.
kill them. And unfortunately, there is some levels of litigiousness in America that approach that. Like for instance, if you're in a castle state, where your home is your castle, and someone breaks in your home, don't shoot to wound them. Kill that person
That's right.
because if they
Shoot 'em- Get
live,
him
they
dead.
can sue you, and in some of these states, they will win.
They can not only sue you, you could potentially be arrested for attempted murder if they can prove or they can claim with enough uh, gumption that you had an alternative other than shooting them, that they
Right.
weren't actually a
So
threat.
if you're in a castle state and someone breaks in your home, make sure they're dead.
Just kill them dead.
I mean, that's the reality of it. So America's got a tinge of it, and that's not a good thing. But China is to the nth degree of this in
Yeah.
every single way. Whereas, let's say some old dude falls over in the road, right? Now, for us, we would go over and try to help him to his feet, see if he's okay, right? Automatically, you see a bunch of people move, right?
Hmm.
To help. Here in Japan, even more so, right? Uh,
Right.
but um, in China, nobody does that because if you go over and try to help the old dude, he's going to blame you. He's going to make a phone call. His family's going to show up in 5 minutes. You just don't understand where they came from, but they immediately are surrounding you. And they're going to all be pointing fingers at you, blaming you for causing the trouble. They will sue you and more than likely win. And
That's
all
right.
you
They
did
get
was, hey,
rewarded
buddy,
with
you
something.
okay?
Yep. They bamboozled you.
They
You've
do
been
that all the
bamboozled.
time. Yeah. And that's why no
No,
one in
it's
China
it's
helps each other out. That's why you see people
it's
walk
not
by
even a low
injured people
trust
and do nothing.
society. It's not even a low trust society. It's if you trust, you're an idiot society. Like
Yeah,
it's the opposite of a trusting
yeah.
society. Whereas Japan is a very trusting society because
Oh,
everybody
very.
has, basic duty to each other is the
Well,
idea.
Japan's like the
Uh,
opposite of China, really.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
This is why
Korea's the
I say
confused
we need
child in the
to.
middle that doesn't know what to do.
Well, Korea's like the trans kid. They're not.
That's true.
They're not really the problem. It's the parents that are
That's
that
fair.
are the issue. Um, but my point is, we need to arm Japan and just let them take China. That's
They
where I'm
are
going with
they are
this.
well
Right?
armed. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to militarize Japan again and unleash the samurai on the Chinamen, and just let the land of the rising sun finish what it started. Now, I'll give you, I'll admit they went a little extreme last time. They went a little hardcore. Maybe we don't need to let them do that,
Yeah.
but I see long term. There's so much benefit for Japan just having control of the Chinese mainland. There's so much benefit overall to everybody because one, you deal with China because they're a problem and they've been a problem for since ever, and then two, Japan's stronger, and that's probably better for everybody in Asia. A strong Japan, which Japan's very strong now, even though they're just an island nation. Granted, it's a huge island, but or huge set of islands, but they're very strong regardless.
Right.
But a strong Japan is better for everybody involved. I
No
think
one
if we strengthen Japan, the stronger Japan gets, the more America can pull back, and that's better for everybody. It's
Yeah,
better for
there's an
Americans.
argument to that.
Yeah,
But the real problem here in the Orient is and each area has its own little thing, but the Japanese just there's no group that work harder or are more meticulous. They're not even close.
yeah,
Nobody, nobody. And that's the issue. And I'm talking about from like India on. There's
yeah. No,
nobody. And they're just very unique in the area. Um, Now I'd say Southeast Asia is certainly doing better, but they also
yes.
kind of have the siesta mindset, right?
Yeah, where's that
Um,
come from? What's that about? Is it because it's
Hot
warm?
weather. Yeah, it's the hot
Yeah,
weather.
they're just like, "It's just too damn hot to work. I don't want
It
what are we
is.
doing? Humans
It
ain't meant
is.
for this." The
Um,
reality is that we don't want to admit is humans just aren't meant for that heat.
to be
We're
fair,
just not.
um,
Yeah,
we are ice age creatures. But
yeah,
I'd say the Thai are probably the most efficient. Unfortunately, the younger king that they have is not his father.
it's not Papa.
He's not Papa. Papa was a great leader. He saw to the country quite well. This guy is more interested in his tantric sex and his
It's
building
Hooters.
his sex chi and things like that. Yeah, he's loves his harem, and he doesn't really focus on his job anywhere near as much as his dad. Now he's not like an evil bastard, like an evil dictator. He's not that. He's just a much lazier version than his father, and that's
Well,
not great for Thailand.
that's one of the risks of monarchy. Monarchy, when you have a good king, is the best system, and it's not even close.
Oh yeah,
But when you don't, then it's the worst system, and it's
yeah,
not even close. Like it's a flip of a coin, unfortunately. Sometimes you get blessed and you get a series of really good kings, and then that's when your country will typically thrive and expand often. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of the things that the founders of this country one of the reasons they disliked monarchy so much was the chance in it, right? They
Yeah,
they
yeah.
didn't like the fact that you can go from a great monarch to a shitty one in,
Yeah, we
you
need
know,
the ability
a
to
day,
control who's in charge.
effectively.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, for sure. But I'd say that Thailand has got themselves to a point where the sex trade is no longer the preeminent money maker.
Well, that's
Um,
good.
they're starting to make money in other areas, and it hasn't gone away. It's still a major part of the trade. And don't misunderstand these girls that are in that business. They know what they're doing, and they're very good at it.
That's right.
A lot of people misunderstand whores. They think that they're like slaves and their pimp beats them. No, no, these women are in business and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
now
a that's an Amer that's a largely American situation with or just like the trashy urban situation where there's a lot of that weird violence and stuff. But even then,
maybe, but
it's
even it's probably not as much as
it's
it's
overblown is what
overblown.
I was
Yeah.
getting to.
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of societies kind of get in that float. We'll have where the sex trade is a big money maker, and then they'll lean past that. I
Yeah.
think Thailand is leaning past that. Vietnam didn't seem to embrace that as much, but they're real serious farmers there. And Cambodia is definitely sex is their biggest trade, and Bangladesh is all about making shirts and clothing. It's their whole focus is making textiles, and of course Myanmar or Burma is just it's just exploded and burning to the ground. So oh well,
Very strange, old
yeah,
Myanmar. Um,
yeah.
yeah, the Thai thing is a good thing though overall, I think.
It is there. It's leveling up. The Filipinos really want to, but they can't because they're just so damn corrupt. The corruption is
It is
just
a problem.
it gets in the
Yeah.
way. But yeah, Asia is Asia. We'll see. Hopefully, they got bright futures going on here. But what's going to happen with China either is going to break up and possibly start doing better, or it's going to fall into complete tyranny like it did back during Mao Zedong.
Yeah.
Either way, one way or the other, it's going to happen. I'm not sure which. I just don't think. I mean, they are uprising and complaining, but I don't know that the Chinese have it in their. I don't think they have the heart to really do what needs to be done. But then again, most people don't. I mean, look at America. America should have fallen into full revolution years ago. I mean,
Yes.
honestly, and it still hasn't. Now, Trump is certainly a bit of a bellwether, isn't he? But
Mm.
and we'll see how that goes. But I've seen a lot of things recently where there's always this idea of don't make the black kids angry, which is ridiculous. But
Mhm.
it seems to have become to a head on that. Black kids think they can do whatever the hell they want to anybody.
Again, this new generation, I'm telling you, these guys, whoo boy, I'm telling you, there's been a lot of bullshit. There's been a lot of fuck around, Chester.
There
There's
has
been a
been.
lot of fuck
That's what I
around for a
mean. So we might be on the edge of it.
long time.
Yeah.
I think we're getting real close to the find out stage because any young man under 25, well, not any of them, but a lot of them have already resigned themselves to the fact that they'll probably never own a house, and if they do, it'll probably be a shithole in some crappy part of town or some rundown thing they have to fix up, which is fine at best. At best.
Yeah.
Many of them will never have a family, at least not the way that their parents did. This whole situation's untenable. You have denied the crux of all civilizations when it comes to a labor force is your young men. They are the most important resource for that specific thing. When you have ostracized them and denied them and belittled them and literally besmirched them, well, that's how you get grand reformations. That's how you get huge societal, civilizational shifts.
Yeah.
Uh, it needs to happen because, like I said at the beginning of this, it's interesting we're back to this. At the beginning of this, they lean into the feminine for too long, for too hard, has caused now this upheaval of great anger, and it's righteous anger from these young men. They've been completely ostracized and cut off from what other men just a decade ago, just 2 decades ago, had easy access to. Well, easier access to. Their grandparents had easier access to. Um, and that's not tenable. It's happened before. It's happened all over throughout all great nations and all great civilizations before. And when that happens, one of two things happens. There's either a massive crackdown on the young men in some fashion or form, which typically only delays the inevitable, like in Rome, um, or they just simply take over and they destroy the old order. Sometimes that's very, very bloody. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just that's it now and it's over. Um, and that's where we're heading. And
Yeah, no,
Trump is an olive branch. I've been saying that since
he definitely
2016.
is. Yeah.
This is the rural and the young men and the working class men giving the system its only chance it's going to get to do this by its rules. And
Peacefully, yeah.
all the system has done has is fight it and fight it and fight it. And it's like, okay, all right. This is what's going to happen now within the next decade. If Trump can't get the reforms that he wants, which it's not looking like he's gonna, we'll see.
Well,
Within the
Lincoln
next
was very
decade,
similar character.
yep, next decade, you're gonna see it's not just gonna, they're not just gonna roll over and take it.
No.
Eventually, they're gonna be like, all right, that's enough.
Well,
That's enough now.
a big problem I see because a lot of black people are advocating violence more today than they were even a year ago, right?
Yep,
I'm seeing a lot of them advocating for violence, and that's they're really not
careful what you
thinking
wish
it
for.
out. Well, they're
Careful
not
what you
thinking it
wish
out
for.
because demographically they're not in a strong stance. But
They're
even beyond
isolated
that,
too.
um, I watch all these things and see all these things with the black kids. They take their handguns, they hold them sideways, and they rattle off bullets, and mostly going into the ground. And I see all the other kids, not just white kids, Latino kids, yellow kids. I see them going to the range and trying to be a black op guy with the AR-15s tucked up tight into the scopes, practicing
Yep,
proper. You're going to
correct.
get slaughtered, buddy.
There is a reason that the Northern European specifically and the Western European have been well, effectively nearly undefeatable for the last 700 years in counter demographic skirmishes. There's a reason for that, and it's not something anybody wants to see play out on the streets of America. I can assure you, because it's going to be a slaughter, and
Yeah, and
it's not going to be
it's
the
not
slaughter
good,
these
dude.
people think it's going to be. I don't want it. I've been advocating against it for years and trying to get people to stop being retarded. But everybody just wants to be retarded. Everybody wants to just keep fucking around. Okay? Listen. We live in a reciprocal universe. It's coming. Don't say you weren't warned, universe. Don't say you weren't warned, other side, because when it starts, I'm going to have to pick a side, and I'm going to pick the side who doesn't want to kill me. I know, I'm a bastard man, but crazily enough, I'd like to keep living. So I'm going to pick the side who thinks I have a right to exist.
Right.
That's all.
Well,
That's it.
one of the things that's kind of kicked off here recently is the Carmelo Anthony thing. And
Yep.
I mean, clearly you had some kids being kids, dude, get the fuck out of our space, man. And that kid came ready for trouble, looking for trouble, I'd imagine, and he killed the other kid. Now, there wasn't any racial aspect from the kids. The black kid clearly has no emotion control, and there probably was a little bit of racism on his part, I think. But it wasn't a racist event, right? And of course, look what's happened. You have all this support for this Carmelo kid who murdered another child, right?
That's right.
All that support, no support for the family who lost their kid. Matter of fact, they're being attacked, they're being swatted, they're under incredible amounts of pressure when they're the ones who lost their kid. And then you're getting more and more black people coming out and saying that he deserved what he got. What do you mean he deserved what he got? Right? And then we had another event where a Latino kid, not even I guess it just you're not white until you're conveniently white, I guess. That's the way it goes. But a Latino kid against a black kid, the black kid was beating his ass on the ground. The Latino kid got up and stabbed him. Now, no one died in that situation, but for some reason they're comparing it. And I'm like, well, okay. The I guarantee you, the kid who got up off the ground and stabbed the other kid is going to see jail time. I guarantee it. But he was getting his ass
Hopefully.
beat on the ground. Carmelo Anthony didn't have a mark on him. No one punched him.
No,
There was no violence
there's
put
no
on him.
violence.
Right?
No.
There's no comparing the two. But I just so many people are popping off, yelling and screaming about the damn white boy deserved it. I'm like, really,
Yeah. They hate white
really.
people. They hate them. They want them to die. Okay,
All right.
all right. Let's see what happens. Hey, let's see what happens. Because I know for a fact, Chester, I know for this for a hard fact, there are plenty of white people who are ready. That's
Yeah,
all I'll
but
say.
see,
They're ready for this.
they don't understand that it's not just what they call the whites, because the Latinos will be
Right.
standing right next to them. And the
Yeah.
yellows will be, the various Orientals will be standing right next to them as well. Shit, there might be a Jew kid in there.
Well, that's the funny thing, right? So everywhere you go in the world, we have this idea now because of all this anti-white hatred that's been promulgated by certain forces. Um, there's this idea that they've propped up that it's everybody against the white man, right? All these other colors against. We're all allies and blah 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 blah. Okay, cool. It's not though, and you
It's
just give them a
not.
second. Just give them a second. Just give them a second, and you'll find out very very quickly that these so-called Hispanics can't stand black people. Black people can't stand them.
No.
Asians can't stand anybody. They don't even like each other. They can't stand nobody. Uh, it's everybody against everybody. But
Yeah.
what's going to happen is the smarter of the groups are going to side with the ones who are going to probably win. And in America specifically, if this were to pop off in the next month, there's a 0%. Oh, okay, I'll say this because you never know. There's a 1% chance that the side that has the most white people loses. Especially the side that has the most young white men, and especially the side that has the most rural conservative young
Oh
white
no, that
men.
you don't go there. Don't go in the countryside.
You're just not gonna
Yeah,
win.
I'm talking more in the
It,
cities. Um,
every single war that's been fought by the American populace, every single war that's been fought by other populaces of the Europeans, specifically, is fought by typically rural or lower class urban white boys. Those are the ones who win these wars. They're the ones who've been winning them for centuries. Of course, there's others that help. Of course, there's the rural black from the south. They like to join our military, and they do a good job in our military. You also have some Hispanics and whatnot, and they do a decent job too. But the truth of the matter is, and the military knows this. This is why they've been pushing hard for them Southern white boys. Them what we would call rednecks.
oh yeah.
They really want some redneck juice because they
Oh, they need
know
it.
that when it comes to the grunt work, ain't nobody doing it like a redneck boy,
Oh, and
and they
that's
know it.
any color of Southern boy, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
it doesn't
That's
matter
right.
what. We're not talking about white boys. Just any color. Yeah.
But they know that historically speaking, it's been them white boys
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
in, them
but
good old country
but
boys,
it
good
does,
old
and in
country
truth,
boys.
it doesn't matter. They
Right.
stick together.
That's right. And that's
Yeah.
what's funny is my uncle, he was in Nam, and he wasn't one of those, right? He grew up in, he's a city boy. But he was in Nam twice. He was drafted and then his brother was drafted, but they let him take his place because he was already signed up. Uh, so anyway, he was in Nam twice, and he's
Mhm.
told me one of the things you learn real quickly when you're over there is you got to find you a redneck, and that's got to be your best friend. He's your boy. You're with it because they know how to do everything. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter. They can survive in them jungles. They'll figure it out. They know how to do it all.
yeah,
So you're
because they're
good.
all
You just
farmers, dude.
yeah, they're all country boys. They know they live in the land. They get it. They figure it out very quickly
They do.
how to
Yeah.
survive.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I'll give you an example from when I was a kid. I had a job when I was a kid at university, and it's my friend's uncle's business, so he got me a job, right? And basically, what I was doing is I was picking up and or delivering or repairing vending machines.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm big boy, and so's my friend Rick, and we can sling those things around, and we could do it quite easily. And I've always had a
Right.
truck license, but anyway, now so that's nothing. It's just kind of a college job, right? But
Hmm.
the thing with this business that made it special is it was a money laundering side of the mafia.
Nice.
Yeah. Now I wasn't part of that. Right? Oh, occasionally we would deliver cases of soda, and somewhere buried in the case was payoff money or stuff. I knew that, but we weren't directly involved. It's
Hmm.
just the business was. But because of that, I would have to make deliveries, or the boss would go some places and he'd bring his two biggest boys, which is me and Rick, to just stand behind him, right? You know how that is. So I had nothing to do with nothing, but I was a fly on the wall, right? And I listened to a lot of stuff. And at that time in Providence of Boston, what had happened was there was a Korean gang, which they call themselves Yakuza as well, by the way. Okay, if that isn't telling, I don't know what to tell you. But they had a bunch of Korean gangs moving into Providence and Boston, which those cities are basically connected, just so you know. Um, and they were causing a lot of trouble, right? And the police actually tried to mediate it by speaking with these Korean bosses and saying, "Dude, I don't think you understand how the city works." But they didn't listen and they were kicking off, being violent, trying to bully and muscle their way in, intimidate people. You know how gangs will do. Um, well, all of a sudden, you started getting just these torched out little Korean businesses ending up with a dozen dead bodies lying in amongst the wreckage, right? Showing up here or there over the course of like a couple of months. And basically, what's happening is you had all the other groups coming together to deal with the incursion that was bringing violence. So
Yep.
you had the Italian mafia, which was very strong. You had the Latin kings. You had the Irish. Even the Russians were doing their thing. Well, they're Ukrainians, let's be fair, but doing their thing. But even though they're usually at each other's throats, they all unified to deal with that Korean problem, and they did it in a very bloody way, dude. So I'm just
It's-
saying it doesn't matter who you are. If you're the odd man out and you're causing all the trouble, everything else will unify against you.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's a problem, and it's a problem that is. I think it's going to be corrected quicker than most people realize because we're in a paradigm shift right now.
Hmm.
You even now, if you look at the data, the young men, and even I saw a poll recently, even the young women under I think it was 24 have shifted hard to the right. Not
Yeah.
just to the right, hard to the right. Uh, that doesn't change just cuz. So the fact that the young ones, because usually, typically the typical pattern is, as people get older, they become more conservative because they have families and what
Sure.
have you now.
That's right.
So what happens when they start that? They start further than me. Where do they go from? Where do you go from there? I don't know, but we're about to find out. We're about to watch for the next 20, 30
Yeah.
years of what happens
Yeah. No,
because we've never seen this before. This is
it is
brand new
interesting.
territory.
Yeah. Well, our grandparents saw it,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
we're about to witness it, and it's the full cycle. It's how things go. But
Yep.
it should be it should be interesting to get a look on it because one of the things that I think is, one of the reasons, of course, as you get older, you mentioned the aspect that you get families and kids and stuff, and therefore you need to be more conservative. But I think another aspect to it is this. This is my opinion. I don't know this to be true, but this is my opinion. When you're young, time goes very slowly, and the reason is because every time you look at an object in your life, your brain is putting down CREB, is a chemical, and making and rebuilding upon the memory you have. Right, it's building
Mm,
upon it. Right, and therefore, when you're young, every day you're seeing things that you've seen a few times, but not a lot, and you're seeing new things, and therefore your brain is constantly taking time to etch this memory, and it keeps your time slow because your brain's busy doing other things, and you perceive it as time going slowly. As you get older, you have seen everything so many times that your brain is no longer taking time to drop CREB on that memory in your brain. And therefore, your brain is taking less activity of making memory and more just simply functioning. Therefore, older people, time doesn't move faster, it just moves normal.
mm,
Young people are moving slower because their brain is taking time doing stuff. And the perception of that is that time is going slower. That's how that
right.
works, by the way.
Mhm,
And I think that's part of it because when you're older, you just don't have perceived time to be wasting bitching and protesting and doing all this nonsense. You have other things to do unless you have money and you have no job and nothing better to do, and therefore you spend your time doing that. Right. And if
mhm,
we look, who are the people out there making all the noise and being troublesome? They're upper class, rich white people, usually women, housewives, and young people.
Well, lately it's been old people too, like boomer old.
Yeah, but I mean,
The
it's the same situation. They're not boomers like me. Well, I'm not a
Well, you're
boomer
not a
anyway.
boomer.
I'm X, but
Yeah.
they're not.
No, I'm talking like older than you, like 10,
Yeah,
20
yeah,
years
but
older than you.
still, they're in a situation that they have free time,
That's right.
right? If you're
Well, they
older
also
and you're
have
busy,
benefited
time moves too
they've
quick, dude.
benefited heavily from this system being in their favor, and all they've done is send politicians repeatedly to the White House, well, the White House too, but to Washington, to ensure that it's constantly in their favor. One of the
Yeah,
things that was interesting when the stock market was having its little fluctuation, you've seen all these people over 50, over 60 even, complaining about it, whereas everybody under 40 didn't give a shit. You know why? Because that's not for us.
it's not
You've
for
done
us at
everything
all.
you can to box us out. You boxed us out of that a long time ago. We don't give a shit. Burn it down. Fuck it.
Yeah,
What do we care?
yeah.
What we don't
I'm gonna put some
burn
water on
it.
the boil. I'll be back in a minute.
Let's let I mean, I me alone, I'm 40. You go younger than me, so many of these people are completely, utterly, and totally ready for the system to burn down. Burn it down. They want it to be completely and utterly uprooted. The stock market, especially, the stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange, we don't give a shit. Most of us have accepted that retirement doesn't exist. Owning a house probably won't ever happen. So what do I care? What do I care if the number goes down? It affects me very little, and it's because they went through this long for the last, I don't know, 40 years or so. This long process, this long experiment of trying to decouple the number on the stock market from the real world. Right? They've separated Wall Street and Main Street so much that Main Street doesn't give a shit anymore. That the normal everyday Americans, especially the younger ones, simply do not care. And they're not going to care because you've boxed us out. You've told us repeatedly through your actions and through your policies that you're only going to let us go so far. I'll give you a perfect example. During the GameStop thing a few years ago, where all these people, all these hedge funds had put on shorts and done short sales on GameStop, thinking it was about to, take a big kaput, and it should have taken a big kaput on the stock market. And in reality, and a bunch of people caught wind of it. And basically, what they did is a bunch of these very, very, very smart young men, mostly, decided to tell everybody about it. And they started telling everybody about it all over the internet, and everybody started buying it. Well, all of a sudden, the price started going up because, well, wait a minute, because the market reacts to, action. So all this investment must mean that it's worth more. Regardless if it actually is, doesn't really matter. It must do because that's what the market is. All the market is, all of economics is. It is just the demonstrated interests of the people. They demonstrate this through their money, through their time, and through their just straight up interest. But the stock market specifically is almost entirely, at least in a perfect situation, about the money. Where's the money going? Should the money go over here? Should it go over there? All of these things are supposed to be determined by we the people, aka the market. Well, the people who watch and oversee the New York Stock Exchange and others decided that this was just ridiculous market manipulation. How dare they? How dare they play our game better than us? We're going to shut it down. So they tried. And they tried through various means, but eventually they quite literally just pulled the plug and stopped trading. Because how dare you get rich off of us? We're supposed to get rich off of you, you filthy, filthy beggars. This signaled to a lot of people who already kind of knew, but definitely now, that this whole system's rigged. They did this a couple different times for various stocks and what have you. This whole system's rigged. There's no reason to even play unless you can rig the game in your favor a little bit, which is what was happening with the GameStop thing. Um, and why in God's name should anybody want to play a rigged game? The game was rigged for the people at the top and their cohorts, which is largely these old people who are out here protesting Teslas and things. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Uh, the younger generations simply have no investment, literally and emotionally, in the old order. This is another reason that it's done. It's over. It's on its last legs. This is the death knell. It'll kick, it'll scream. It might even try to start a world war. It's been thinking about it, which is how it stopped the last time this happened. Because here's the truth. The rise of fascism was not an aberration. It wasn't just a collective hatred that just bubbled to the surface. It really wasn't even about hatred at all. It was about a well, it was about hatred, but not about hatred of races and things. It was about a hatred of an ideology. That ideology was communism. Now, fascism is just another form of Marxism, sure. But communism, especially the communism of that day, was just repugnant to these people. So that's where fascism largely came from. That's where the entire thing came from. I mean, Hitler was very clear in his own version of it, which was National Socialism. He was very, very clear that this was an anti-communist movement. That's what he was about, and whether or not the Jews and the people, the money interests were in the way or in the pocket of helping the communists, that was largely immaterial. It wasn't until later, and he even says this in Mein Kampf, that at first he didn't even really care about the Jews. It wasn't really a thing. They were just communists, and that was the problem. But he says, and I think the quote is, "Slowly I began to hate them," as he argued with them and talked to them, and that's where that came from. But my point is, it didn't start off this way. It was a response to the excesses of communism and what they were trying to do all throughout Europe and in America too, for being honest. That's why there was this backlash. That's where it came from. So what you're seeing, what happened to suppress that was really World War One and World War Two, but definitely World War Two. Killed off tens of millions of fighting age men, just dead, gone. And these would be the men who, of course, would be the more masculine type, typically. They're gone now. The best of us are dead, uh, all over the world, and that led to a mass overcorrection into the feminine. And that's why you've seen now we went from a culture that, especially in America, that preeminated excellence and achievement to a culture that only seems to be concerned with reducing or managing harm. Well, that's a fool's errand. Harm is inevitable.
Are we talking about risk
Something is
taking? Ooh.
Yes, something is always going to hurt, right? That's just reality. You're a physical being in a physical universe, things hurt here.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's always going to be. So when you make your entire moral code centered on do no harm, it sounds good. You're like, well, that's a good thing, right? No. Because sometimes, Chester, sometimes blessings hurt.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's a
no.
good thing.
That's why America
And
is
what
so successful. We are risk
Yeah.
takers. Yeah.
Well, that's where what I was saying is, because we were talking about the return of the masculine urge in a way that we've never seen in our lifetimes. Uh, this has happened before. The pre-World War II Europe, especially, and Japan, you could make the argument, this happened. Unfortunately, because of the way the world was at the time, it went into a very dark place, and it led to, terrible, terrible things. And that's why we see over the last, how long has it been since World War II? Almost 100 years. Uh, that's why we see the rise of this hyper feminine. That's why we see this push towards the only thing that matters is to not harm. We even see people who will make. I've watched these people say that morality comes from the principle of empathy, which means, and basically they're saying is don't harm other people. And that sounds good. You're like, yeah, of course you don't want to hurt people, but that's not where morality comes from. Morality comes from the principle of reciprocity. That's why you don't do harm to other people. Not because doing
Sure.
harm to people is always bad. It's not
Fear.
always bad. Sometimes you got to hurt people. But yes, the fear that, well, wait a minute, what if they can do it back to me one day? What if
Right.
they can go for. If you take that away, well, now there's no rules. Now the real only rule is, well, why don't I kill you and take your shit? Why not? What's the stop?
No,
Well, you might hurt me, so I don't care.
let,
What do I
let me
care
a-
if I hurt you?
let me ask a question because I don't live in the states, so I
Yeah,
hadn't in a long time. But when I was a kid, um, when and shit kicks off as it does, right?
it does. Yeah,
You had to be when I was young. You had to be ready and willing to kill a motherfucker.
correct.
Now, You didn't have to all the time. Usually it got worked out in a different way, but you needed to be ready to do that.
Yes, sir.
And that was the mindset. Is it not like that anymore?
Well, it depends on where you are, but for the most part, no, because the culture has shifted so heavily from this is what I was talking about where you're going. We used to have a culture of excellence, and that's actually an expression of that because the ultimate form of violence is killing, right? That's
Sure,
the
of
most
course.
excellent form of it. There is nothing that goes higher than to kill your opponent. Um, well, we've taken that away now, and now the thing is to manage harm. You can't
Ah, I see.
really,
I see your point.
you
It
can't,
it's
yeah,
it's
you
been
can't really do it.
feminized.
Yes, you can't really do that forever. That's just managing decline. That's all you're doing because in order for a muscle to grow, you have to tear it a little bit. You don't want to tear
Right.
it completely, but you have to hurt it. It has to be damaged. So, in order for a society to grow, the muscle of that society, the young men, have to be damaged.
Right. No, I
And
see.
if you're doing it properly, you're doing it intentionally to push them to be better, to push them to be more virtuous, to be more noble, to be more chaste, to be more disciplined. If you're doing it improperly, you're doing it to stop them from becoming those things.
Right.
And that's what we've been doing. We've
So
been stifling the virtuous urge of man.
I get it. So what you're saying is the nuclear option has been taken off the table because like I said when I was young you had to have that kind of mindset and because you had that mindset everybody had that mindset. We're talking about men here.
Yeah.
And you know that everybody has that mindset. Things would kick off less. And when they did, there was always that, like, well, because that's what I mean. You see a lot of these things with these girls going up and hitting on dudes, punching guys, thinking
Yeah.
they can do that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's fine as long as you don't wake him up
Right.
because I don't care how nerdy, puny and wastrelly the guy looks. If you wake him up, it's going to get a lot more lit, right? Um,
Gonna get bad.
it's going to get bad, and when I was young, that nuclear option was always there. Therefore, it chilled things to a point, as it's supposed to. But it sounds like these days, everybody's so pussified, things become more violent more quickly.
Well, it's not exactly that, but it's not so much that they're pussified. That option's obviously still there because it's deep seated in the masculine mind.
It's not
It's
here.
that well, it's a different world. It's that pussified's the wrong way to put it. The consequences for any of it, even the starting of it, have become so ridiculous that it's not worth even to do. So what I mean by that is it's become a value proposition. I think we need to bring back, and in many places in America, you're still allowed to do it. People just don't realize it. We need to bring back duels. We need to just straight bring it back. That needs to be on the table. Now, that doesn't mean we need to be doing it all the time, and people didn't do it all the time. That's a misconception from Hollywood. But it needs to be on the table because sometimes, when you're at an impasse, there's only so much you can do. And the fact that it's not on the table to be able to settle these things, as they would say, like men, that's a problem. We've conditioned a whole tried to recondition society away from excellence. And that goes in both the good and the bad. And when you try to do that, your society begins to crumble. And that's exactly what's been happening. All these problems we have, whether it's school shootings, whether it's the drug epidemic, whether it's the corruption in our government, whether it da 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 da, da, that all stems from the root of running away from what makes every civilization, not just Western, every civilization great excellence, preeminence of truth, because truth is the ultimate form of excellence. uh, the preeminence of truth. If you do not put truth before face in all things, your society, now you can have societies that do like Japan does, where they kind of stagnated a little bit. You can have other societies that do like the East does, where they kind of hang around, but they have to use brutality typically to rule, at least in China. Uh, all of that comes from what I just said. When you have a culture that pushes everybody to be their best version of themselves, and they define it. We used to define these things. We weren't afraid of shame like we are now. When you define this is what it looks like. You're this, this, and this. You're of this caliber of person. You have these virtues, these morals, and you live them every day. When you have a culture that does that and then pushes the young men to chase that ideal, that masculine ideal. You have a culture that's on the up. You have a culture that's doing good. You have a culture that's going to have a lot less problems. You have a culture that can build the greatest empires in the history of the world. When you have a culture that just wants to make sure no one gets hurt, and we have now, what would happen if you actually hurt that guy? Don't you need to feel what that would feel like? That's ridiculous. No, I don't. All I need to know is that hurting people is wrong. That's it. That's the end of it. We don't need these long, deep philosophical arguments for why hurting people is wrong. Just hurting people is wrong. Here's why. Bam. See, that hurts, doesn't it? Yeah. Don't do that. That's it. Done. Quick and easy. Most people aren't capable of thinking deep enough for the deep philosophical arguments to take root. So my point is, we have a return of this urge, of this masculine urge. It is the masculine urge, by the way, the masculine urge to create and chase a moral code that elevates civilization.
Sure, we
The
need it,
masculine urge
or we
creates
tear
it,
ourselves apart. It's essential.
yes, and the feminine urge enforces it because they understand that this is
That's right.
for their protect. At least they used to understand
No,
this is for
that's
their
100%
protection of
correct.
them and their children. So they are the ones who actually enforce it. Men go out and we create the thing, whatever it is. The women enforce the norms. And what we've done is we've taken away because we don't want to do harm, can't do harm. So what is Chester? What is guilt and shame? It's emotional harm. That's
It
what it
is.
is. Well, you don't
Sure,
want to do
it's a
that to
tool.
people. You don't want them to feel bad.
Yeah, you
Okay,
do.
yeah, you don't want to feel bad all the time, sure. But there are times they need to feel bad. When they fuck up, they should feel bad. Simple as that. Like, oh man, I fucked up. Damn, I don't want to fuck up again. That's how you learn. That should be how you learn. That's a good thing for you. So we have now because the feminine has taken such strong root, the mother energy, right? What do moms do? They don't want their kids to get hurt,
Now they
right?
protect
The
it.
kid
Yeah.
gets hurt, they protect them, they jump on them, they fix their boo boos. Whereas dad would be like, all right, let's see what happens. He won't listen, so let's let him learn his lesson real quick. That's dad's energy, and that energy is what builds great civilizations because people got to learn.
Oh yeah.
Fuck around and find out
Like
is a
if the
moral universal law.
Yeah, sure. If you got a bunch of guys around and the kids are getting into some stupid fight over something stupid, you let them
Yeah,
fight
let them go. Let them fight it out.
until
And
unless it looks like it's going to get actual,
yeah,
fatal.
yeah, yeah,
Then you pull them
yeah,
apart.
yeah.
But I mean, no, we let them go. But if the women are around, it doesn't go anywhere.
They start screaming, ah! If they
Yeah.
freak out, they can't handle it. It's the very principle of sometimes blessings hurt, and I would say very often blessings hurt. Um, that we have to get back to as a society. We have to understand that pain is not the enemy. Pain is not a bad thing. Pain lets you know that you're still alive. It lets you know that you still care, that your body still cares. It lets you know that you still function. And that means where you have the pain is where you need to focus. That's
Right.
what pain is. That's
I'm
what it's
assuming
for.
that's where masochism comes from.
Probably. Probably. That
I
is what
never got
pain is
that.
for. To teach you what is damaged.
That's one of
So if
the
something
things
hurts,
I never understood about gay guys.
they seem to love it.
Yeah.
If it
Is
hurts,
it just simply gay
focus it.
guys are masochists? Is that what it is?
I don't know. Good question.
Because I don't get it.
That's a good question.
I never
Well,
got it.
some of them don't, do the rear entry, we'll call it. They don't.
How?
Some of them don't do
There
that.
are gay. It's in the descriptor.
Well, yeah, but there's other orifices, Chester. There's other orifices that can handle some
Well,
business.
so they're just lame then.
Well,
Cowards.
I didn't. I would say being gay is pretty lame to begin with. If I'm gonna
Yeah.
be honest with you, that doesn't sound fun. Now, there would be some benefits to it. Let's be fair. You get to hang out with your bro and do bro stuff, but then there's the penis situation, and then
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like,
No, I get that, but yeah, I don't get it. I don't see the pleasure in it. I never understood it. But then again, I have been on my side with the females, and mostly the comment they got is that I've heard is that initially it hurts, but then it feels good after. I'm
yeah,
not really interested in finding it out though.
no, no, I'm good.
I'm
I'm
a
good
I'm
on
a
that.
coward, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went on a tangent. Sorry, viewers, but he walked away with the water situation, and I went on a tangent. Basically, it boils down to Western civilization, and really all of civilization, but definitely Western civilization, was built on the principle of reciprocity. The truth is we like to glamorize everybody's past, but everybody comes from a bunch of brigands, bastards, and thieves. Everybody does. There's no exceptions. That's how all civilizations were built. They stole it all first. They just stole everything from everybody, and then they said, "This is ours now, and we're going to make it real." And that's it. That's how it all got started. There was just a bunch of big, strong dudes who went and took everything, and they said, "I'm going to keep it, and this is how we're going to keep it." And they made up some rules so they wouldn't kill each other. That's it.
Hmm.
That's all they did. There's nothing deeper than that. It's not this grand. Ooh, no, 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 no. Just dudes with weapons, pointing them at each other. You don't take my shit. I don't take your shit, or we kill each other. Cool, cool. That
Yeah,
was it.
the nuclear
Done.
option. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But we'll see. Things are definitely kind of going places. The initial thing we said in the beginning, we're starting to see a shift. I feel it even over here. One thing I've noticed over here in Japan, the economy's already started responding in a positive way
that's good.
already.
It has here too. It has here
Yeah.
too. The
So
stock market hasn't, but the actual economy, not the fake
uh,
woo-woo financialist bullshit that is
the
the
stock
stock market.
the stock market
Yeah,
doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean nothing.
correct. I know. But for some reason, so many people believe that number on the screen matters to their life. Did the cost of eggs go down?
Yeah, but
Yeah?
you
Cool.
you got to understand that that number you see on the screen is the common man's number. It's not the real stock market,
Correct.
right? They have this thing called black pools. And not like I've ever been involved with them. I'm not a stock guy. I mean, I have bank accounts, and I guess they do probably mainly blue chip, I would assume. A black pool is basically where the real stock market is, and the really rich people they go there, and what they can do in the black pools is they can control the number. They get to they get to set the number of on their investment on various things. Now, you don't see the Blackpool number. I'd imagine if you get on the internet and dig, you probably can find it somewhere. Maybe it's quite easy to find. I don't know. I've never checked it. But that's the real, actual stock market. The number you see on the screen is the poor man's stock market. That's not
It's
the
not.
real one.
Everything's stratified.
Yeah.
Everything.
So those numbers you see going up and down, there is a bottom line on that. It
Correct.
can't drop beyond that bottom line, you know? And the volatility in that market is really set up to kind of pull you in to kind of throw some of your money at it to
That's
invest.
correct.
Now, you might, in the long run, you might make a couple dollars, especially if you're doing like day trading. But it's really just to pull more wealth into the market. It's not the actual market. The actual market is in a thing called Blackpool. And the Blackpools, they're the ones that set and control the market. And it's not even fair because it's not actually what you think a stock market is. They literally set the limits, these people. It's
Yep.
completely controlled behind the screen. It's like the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, the whole thing's BS. You got
It is.
fractional reserve banking. They take the little bit of money you put in, times it by 100, some places even by 1,000, and then invest this money that simply does not exist, made it up
Yeah, the banks
into
do that
the
constantly.
stock market,
Yeah, yeah.
and then that money gets filtered down. So basically, it's one of these things in America, Chester. I don't know what it's like in Japan, but in America, most banks you can't walk in and ask for like 50,000. Even if you have that much in your account, you can't walk in and ask for $50,000. They simply don't have that much cash.
No,
It
they
doesn't
don't.
exist
You can't
in the
get
bank.
your money back. But
Yeah,
of course, any money that you put in or stuff like that, it's just like operating fund, right?
yep.
The stock market is a very controlled thing. It has limits that you never see. And Maple
Mhm.
Sheep is a chic. Yeah, Maple Chic is making a joke. Ha ha. Anyway, uh, let's move along here. Go ahead.
The Predator is a runt now. Badlands trailer sparks backlash. I don't know what this Predator is supposed to be, but that's a mess.
It is. He is a runt, and he's trying to prove himself to his father, who's disappointed. Everyone says it looks like Big Mike. I don't maybe. This one, of course, last time we had a kind of woke Predator, but people said it was still kind of fun, even though it was woke. Okay. This one is from the predator's point of view, and he's being hunted by a replicant. Of course, we know Blade Runner, Alien, and Predator are all in the same universe, right? just at different times. But it looks like he's being hunted by a replicant, Blade Runner, and of course in the Aliens, those replicants are the same as Blade Runner. They're the same thing, right?
It's such a shame that they just the first Predator is such a good movie. It
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 is.
gets because people misunderstand it and they think it's just an action movie. That's one of the most psychologically perfect films ever made.
Oh, they did a good
Ever.
job. It started action
So
flick,
good.
turned into a horror. It was really good. Yeah,
Yep.
and there's some charm with the second one too.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just
It's
there's
not
something
as
about
good,
that
but
one.
there's a little bit of charm.
But
But
the
no,
the whole premise of these movies is, and I'm sure this one will probably do it too, but it'll do it a much more shit version of it. Is the reason it's called Predator isn't because the alien is called a predator, it's because he is a predator. He's
and
hunting these people,
and he's
and then
hunting
by the middle of
predators.
it, yes, and then by the middle of it, yeah, exactly. He becomes the prey and he doesn't realize it, right? Once Arnold has had enough and he starts doing Arnie shit, he flips the script.
He
So
does.
the whole point of this is who's the hunter. That's the point.
Right.
It's a very classic story. They just told it in a fantastical way, and it's so well. The psychology of it is literally perfect. I can't think of a movie that does that better.
Yeah.
The psychology of it's there's so much to this movie, but that's the problem. Is ever since
Mhm.
that one, they've never been that deep again. And
No,
because
that
it's
is true.
Schwarzenegger, and because it's a bunch of big muscle guys like Jesse Ventura and stuff, people don't realize that what you're looking at is an incredibly deep, full of metaphor story. It's so good. It's
It
so
is
good. It
good.
really is.
But we've progressed ourselves into 2025, and now
Yeah.
we're getting a movie from the Predator, the what do they call them, Yantees or whatever they call them,
Yeah.
from their point of view. Are we interested in that?
No.
Not really.
I'd be interested in maybe reading a book on it. I don't need to see a movie about it. Like just to
Yeah.
see their culture or whatever. That'd be kind of neat. Just because I'm a nerd. But I don't need to see a film on it because the point of that first movie isn't about the alien. The alien is a metaphor. Gosh, why don't people understand storytelling? The whole point of this is he has to become the very thing that he hates to win. He has to become the perfect version of himself, a predator.
Right.
It's about self mastery and overcoming your fear. That's what that movie's about. He's terrified of this creature through. I mean, it's slaughtered his whole group, right? It's been slaughtering people, uh, and he has to overcome that. The rest of these films, while they play with that concept, I haven't seen a single one of them that gets it on the level that the first one does. It's some of Arnold's best acting, actually, and he doesn't
Yeah.
say much near
And
the end of that movie.
well, he doesn't have to. And he's also the
Yeah,
first one to realize that the predator is hunting predators when he kicks the
that's
gun out
right.
of the girl's hand, right? Like, no, 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 don't be offensive to it.
Correct. Correct.
He got that. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of played out. They've done so much crap, and it's just it isn't interesting because there's no soul to it, as you had mentioned. And
Yeah.
it's been this way for a while. And of course, like I said, we have Blade Runner and Alien and Predator, of course, are all connected in the same universe. So it's like, seeing as that's the fact, I'm not surprised we finally come to the point that we've got a movie that's basically unifying all of them, because he's being hunted by a replicant, but it's an alien version replicant, right? Because all these movies are set in they're all set in different timelines, right? Blade Runner is in the future, our future, sure, but Alien is way beyond our future, right?
Hmm.
And Predators can happen anywhere in the timeline because they're just hunters coming to Earth because it's a location they know of, right? That they
Right.
can
Good hunting
utilize.
ground.
It's one of their hunting grounds. So this movie seems to be bringing it. This is obviously going to be set in the Alien timeline, because we're getting
Mhm.
one of the alien type artificial intelligence, the replicants. But we're finally getting a movie that's kind of tying them all together. Um, so I'm not surprised by that. I'm surprised we took so long. But I don't know. It's from the Predator's point of view. It could be interesting, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be good. We'll
Could
see.
be. We'll
We'll
see.
see.
I
It's
just have
just
no interest in
yeah.
it.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kinda like how the first Alien movie, and the rest of them are different films.
Oh, yeah.
Another good example is Terminator. Terminator is another good example. The first Terminator is pretty much just a action horror movie. After that, it becomes something else. Terminator 2 is a much better film, but regardless, my point is they lost the Rambo's another great example. The first Rambo is a psychological thriller. It's the rest of them that become, all about the action. Uh,
Because he's being hunted, Roger.
yeah, these things, man, it's a shame. It's really a shame. The concept of predator, a being, a race, really, that only likes to hunt predators, it's actually kind of cool.
It
And you
is.
can play with that. You can do so much with that. Like, just off the top of my head, they like to hunt predators, right? Let's say
Right.
there's
Well,
some
they are
grand,
honorable.
yes, they're very honorable. Let's say there's some grand, I don't know, like the Nazis. Well, why did they come hunt Nazis?
Maybe
Why
they
didn't they
did.
hunt Nazis? Yeah, maybe they did. Cool. Show me that. I'd watch that, especially if you understand the psychology of it. That's what these movies. That's my point. These movies, since the first one, never understood what the first one was trying to do. They never got it, and it's a shame. It's a real. It's like another example is Jaws. The first Jaws movie, deeply psychological film. The rest of them, not so much. But that first one, absolutely is. Uh, it's just such a shame that this happened. It happens a lot too. You get one movie that's really, really good. Like The Matrix is another example. They were telling a brilliant story there, whether they realized it or not, and they muddied it up because of the sequels. But that's what my takeaway is from these Predator movies
Hmm.
is until I see one that understands the core of the first film and why it worked, I have very little interest in any of these. Very little interest. And it would take an incredible director to really pull that off, I think, to really get back to that what makes the first one work so well. Why it's iconic. Why
Yeah.
people 40 years later are still quoting it and still think about it and like why they've been chasing that dragon for 40 years.
Right. Well, I mean, Weta is doing the special effects and design on this.
Yeah,
So
could be
I
good.
don't know.
Hopefully it's good. Hopefully
Yeah.
it's good.
Well, I hope so. Let's see here. Maple says that if Aliens, Predator, and Blade Runner are all in the same universe, the soldier with Kirk Russell is also, that's right, a part of that universe because Russell's character fought in a war that was mentioned in Blade Runner. Yeah, yeah, they are. They are all connected. It's like this grand universe that has been hinted at, and they put the little Wayland thing in and various other stuff here or there all the time. They just haven't pulled the trigger and really made it a thing. And of course, the timelines are a little bit troublesome, right? Because Kurt Russell, his movie is probably set between Blade Runner and Alien, I would say.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm guessing, but I imagine it's kind of in that realm, maybe, or it could have even been early Blade Runner, I guess. But yeah, because it basically goes Blade Runner, and then Alien is like 100 plus years after that. Alien 2 is another, what, 80 some years after that, right?
Mhm.
And then, etc. So, um, this is kind of the layup of where it's going. And of course, the artificial life forms, the replicants, are the one connecting value, right? And them constantly trying to create, the super soldiers. Now, Kurt Russell's program was about using humans and just, ultra training and ultra psychological domination, right, of
Right. Right.
the human, experience. Whereas replicants are more of synthetic humans that have biological restraints, right?
Yeah.
But the
Yep.
predator is just something that's caked on the bottom because they can exist any time in there, right?
It could be you could actually, I mean, if you're gonna bridge it, I wouldn't mind seeing a predator hunt in a Blade Runner city. That could be cool. Blade
Yeah,
Runner aesthetic.
yeah.
That could
Well,
be
I
cool.
don't know where we're going to be sat here. This runt is trying to prove himself, but he's the hunted. But then I'm assuming he's going to flip it on the side like Arnold did, right? I'm assuming he's the Arnold character.
Looks that
And
way.
he's being hunted by this lady replicant. So and but Weta is doing the special effects, and that's not a bad thing, dude.
No, it should be, and hopefully look good. And
Yeah,
hopefully look good.
people really don't like the look of this Predator, though. I'm like, yeah, they're going to make him more expressive, so because he is the protagonist, so maybe that's why they
Mhm.
did it like this. And he's also supposed to look weaker,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Yeah,
Assuming he's also supposed to be younger.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. I don't understand.
Rachel Zegler's new project flops before it opens. Empty seats everywhere.
Now, do you know what project she's working on that's coming out soon? Do you know what it is?
No idea. No idea.
She's doing Evita.
Okay.
Now, of course, we had the original Evita, and then Madonna went and redid it. People seem to like it.
Hmm.
So why are we redoing it again a third time? One, two. This is a little bit better. I mean, she is Colombian, so it makes a
Yep.
little bit more sense having in the role than it did with Snow White, and she can sing. But it's like you do realize this is damaged goods, right? This is super damaged goods. Why are you making a movie with this girl? She's playing Eva
Well,
Peron, right?
I'd imagine they already had it planned and contracts signed before this debacle.
Maybe, but I mean, oof, that's a slap in the head, though. Yeah, see, it mentions the original Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice musical, of course, and of course we had Madonna do her version, although they don't mention that here for some reason. But this is a movie where okay, it makes a little bit more sense, I guess. But yeah, is this a movie or is this a maybe this is in the theater? It's a
Maybe.
yeah, it is. It's a theater play. Okay, okay, okay. So that's why they didn't mention Madonna because it's a theater play. But they're not selling any tickets whatsoever. Any. And this
Wow.
thing opens soon, dude. Like June.
No
Yeah, it's a
bueno.
play. I apologize. So that's why they didn't mention it. Okay, okay. But this girl is so damaged goods. And it's unfortunate because this role is much better for her,
Yes.
right? Because Avita doesn't need to be particularly attractive. It's not necessary. Matter if you see the original Eva Peron's photograph, she wasn't a very pretty lady anyway. So, and then the girl can sing. I'm not going to take that away from her. The girl can sing. Um, but damn, she's just damaged goods, dude. This girl is so toxic.
Yeah.
And
It's a
she
shame.
hadn't learned nothing. She's still bitching.
Yeah. She won't shut up.
She
She
will not
refuses to
shut
shut
up.
her mouth.
She's blaming everyone. She's screaming and yelling at everyone. Now she's mad at Jack Black. Do you know why?
Oh God, why?
Because his Minecraft movie was more successful than hers.
It's Minecraft.
That's
I
it
tried to
though. I
tell
mean, but
everybody
that's it though.
it
Jack
was gonna
didn't
make money.
attack her. He didn't do anything against her. She's just mad because his movie did better than her movie, therefore she's mad at Jack Black particularly. Even though there's multiple people including Jason Momoa in that cast. So why is
Yes.
literally bitching at Jack Black because the movie which he had very little to do with making, nothing probably. I just don't this girl is insane.
Yeah. Hyper entitled. This is the young female generation, Chester. I wouldn't say it's obviously not all of them. It's about 35% of them,
That's
give or
not a
take.
lot.
Oh, that's a big number. I'm not saying it's not, but it's not completely untenable. It's
Well,
just
no,
we're
it's
gonna have
not 100%.
a whole lot of women in their 40s, 30 late 30s and 40s that are just you think they're miserable now. Oh
Dude,
boy.
the Karen
It's too late.
generation is coming.
It's gonna be like you've never seen.
A
It's gonna
bunch
be
of
bad.
single 56-year olds. But the Canadians and the Swiss, and I'm sure other countries, they see the profitability because the euthanasia programs they're opening up, they know who their customers are.
Yeah, they know exactly who's gonna
Yeah.
take that take up that service.
And
It'll
that's
also there'll also be some men too in their 40s and 50s. A
it
lot of
might be.
men,
It might be. But I imagine the vast block is going to be older women.
yeah, probably older single women with no husband, no children,
And if
no
that
nothing.
doesn't disgust you, I don't know what will.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty
It's
bad. But
really
hey, they
bad.
listen. They wanted to be liberated. Well, okay. Careful what you wish for. You just might get it.
Yeah. Well, you
Because they got all the power on their side for so long, the literal forces of the states of all these countries against the men for so long. Okay. Well, now the men are just like, nah, I'm good.
well
I'll go to
because
East Europe. I'll go to Asia and find me a wife. I'm good.
yeah, or just abstain altogether, especially seeing
Yeah.
how sluttish the girls are these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the thing with them is, I'm seeing the older women. They're starting to blame the feminists of old, blaming them
Yeah.
for lying to them, and it was like, well, ladies, did you not see the feminist women that were yelling at you? Did you not look at them as being 50, 60-year-old angry, bitter, dried up old women? You didn't notice?
Yes. No, they didn't because accountability, Chester. It is responsibility is the thing that terrifies a young man and men in general for some instances. They don't want to be responsible for other people. It's one of the reasons why a lot of men in truth don't want to get married. Also because the game is rigged against them, so they're taking a lot of responsibility with zero, you know, assurances basically. That's just silly. Why would you do that to yourself? Uh Accountability, though, is the female variant of that. Women will take responsibility for things. They'll take care of some kids, they'll do this, they'll do that, but they don't want to be held accountable for any of it, especially their own decisions. And the moment you try and show them some or demand some, well, then you're being some form of manipulative or controlling or possessive or what have you. And it's just like, okay, then I just won't deal with you. I
Yeah.
mean, that's always been an option for the men. That's the truth of it. That women don't want to hear because so many of them have these egos that they think, because other men will chase them to the ends of the earth and try and get in their pants or whatever. Well, not every man will do that. Some men are actually like, it's not worth it. If I have to be fake or if I have to do this or that, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. I'm gonna come over here, hang out with my boys, play some video games, watch some movies, get in good shape, make money, do whatever. I'm just gonna do what I want to do,
Yeah.
and you go do what you want to do. And
You
if
know,
that's have sex with the same 20 men, cool. Have at it, ladies.
yeah,
Have at it.
sure. Yeah, no, it's even stretched over here a bit because, like with my son, I mean, he's exactly what you said. He's out there trying to make money. He works out. He's into bodybuilding. His wife is into the gym activities too, though.
That's
He's doing that kind of thing, and we are actually talking about to them, and what he does, what they do, a lot of young people do, and I don't get the concept. They have separate bank accounts.
yeah, I do too. My wife and I
Yeah,
separate
I
bank accounts.
don't.
Yeah.
I don't even
The
think
only
about
reason
money.
we do
It doesn't even enter my brain. I don't even touch the stuff.
The only reason we do is because we did, and we just decided it was just easier to keep them than it would be to merge them. We have
Okay.
full access to each other's bank accounts, though. Like I know our codes. I can go grab
No,
her
see, I
card and
think
take
theirs
money
is
if I want
separate,
to.
separate.
Yeah, no, 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 no.
Yeah,
We
I
just we
thought it
just
was
kept them
weird,
separate because it's easier. That's the
and
only reason.
I was just being myself. You know how I am, just
Yeah,
asking questions because I don't necessarily. I'm a very dumb smart guy.
yeah. Well, a college educated idiot. We got you. We're
Yeah, yeah.
with you. Yeah,
But I kept asking questions, and finally, my son was just kind of giving me this little, like, this little, twitching in the left eye. I was like,
yeah.
oh, and I shut up.
Uh oh. Uh oh.
Yeah.
Well, part of it is there's a pragmatism to it because unfortunately, I don't know what it's like in Japan that the rate, but I know over here marriages don't last at an alarming rate in America. I'd imagine Japan something similar at least. I have no idea. So maybe that's simply all it is. It's just a simple pragmatism. Like, what if this doesn't work out? Then we're totally
Yeah, maybe.
entangled. It's going to be a bigger mess.
Yeah,
Where
but
if we just don't do that,
they don't have alimony here. They don't have those kind of things here.
they still have divorce though. Still a lot of
They
divorce
do
going
have
on.
divorce, but it's
Yeah.
not anywhere near the same rate. But Oh, whatever. I just don't understand the concept. Because for me, we're married. There's only one money,
Hmm.
our money.
Her money. No.
Well, hers, yeah. Well, I mean, she's better at managing money than me. She's
Yeah.
good at it. So why wouldn't I? I mean, if it was reversed and I was the
Negotiation.
yeah, that's true. But I mean, if I was really good with money and she was bad, then I'd be running it. But I
Right.
mean, she's good at it. Let her do it. Why would that would be stupid for me to involve myself, really?
Division of that's the whitest thing you've ever said. Division of labor. It's a very white concept. Yeah.
You know?
No, it's exactly how it should be. It's funny because, old Whitey gets a lot of shit for the sexism and things. But the reality is the Northern European, of which you are a member, is by far the most egalitarian. And it's
Oh
always
yeah,
kind of been that way in their households. Like whoever was
it's
the
always
best at
been
the
that way.
thing did the thing. Yeah. You do this thing because you're good at it. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll do this thing because I'm better at it. Okay.
yeah,
That's it. That's the rule.
that's it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't it be that way
Simple.
everywhere?
You would think, but apparently not.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Oh no, no. Division of labor is definitely a thing, dude. Do what you do
Yes.
best.
Yes. And do
Right?
it
Like,
well.
I wouldn't maintaining the house and maintaining and doing repairs on cars and stuff like that. Why would I let her have anything to do with that whatsoever? You give her a wrench and she wouldn't even know what it is.
We should start hammering things, probably.
Maybe. And then I'd be upset.
You're gonna ruin my wrench.
Don't touch the tools. But I mean, it's straight up division of labor because I know those
Yeah.
things, therefore I do those things.
Well, it's funny because we're talking about it. Feminists twist it. This is something that happens a lot with women, especially nowadays. They take your, they take the care and the concern, and they'll twist it because they know one thing that's true. At least I don't know about over there, but here for certain, the men try much harder when they want to be with somebody, even if it isn't just romantically. They just want, they like say you and this person could even be a dude, doesn't matter. You want to be friends with them. You want to have a relationship with this person on
Sure.
some level. You'll put a man's going to put in way more effort, and typically, of course, there's exceptions, than the woman will on average to make that work. And I've been watching these videos of these guys talking about this, and even these like counselors, these marriage counselors. If you get a female one, they'll pretty much lie and just say this isn't true. But every one of the male ones that I've seen, whether it's marriage coaches, counselors, blah blah blah, blah, they will almost to a man will say to you that if the problem is the woman, the marriage is over because the woman won't fix it. She won't do the work.
No,
She
that
just
is
won't.
probably true. Yeah.
And my point is that is because of the feminists, because it didn't used to be that way. There was a time when we were talking about division of labor. The reason why the household structure was the way that it was and why it was patriarchal is because that was typically the best way to do it. Not always, of course, there's exceptions, but in the vast majority of cases, it was the best way to manage the situation. The women would handle the house, they would manage the house, they would manage the finances very often of the house, or at least
Sure.
keep an eye on them. Uh, and the man would be the one would bring those in and expand the house from one way or the other.
Right.
That was a very aristocratic and very typical of the middle class and all the way down to the peasants. This
Sure.
is how they lived.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. It's because it works.
Mhm.
That's what they didn't just do that for because we're stronger than you. You gotta do what we say. That's how the feminists framed it. That's not how it was. Men are complete pussies when it comes to women. I've been the man who's been in a situation where I could easily physically handle this, but I can't because it's a woman, and I won't do that unless it's an actual threat.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
there's no need to get physical.
yeah,
But yeah,
but
no,
they
no.
will.
Women manage the house and men build the world. I mean, that's
That's
kind of
right.
the way it is.
That's right. And it's what I said all the way at the beginning. Men have the power, women have the control. And when that gets screwed up, when you get that messed up, and you want the women to have the control because they're supposed to be, when it comes to the children anyway, the more empathetic of the two.
Sure.
The men are more sympathetic. There's a difference between those two. They're very similar, but
Mhm.
they're very different. And that's what you want. Now, that's not always the case, of course, but
But I get your point. Actually, my son
yeah.
made a point because I was asking why, with the money situation, and he said
Mhm.
because women are too strong, too powerful. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? It's like because he was giving an example of his friends who do like I do, and it's like they never have any money in their pocket and they are scared to ask for it. I'm like, what?
Yep.
I mean, I said, what are you talking about? If I want money, she got to give me money. He said, yeah, that's you.
Well, you're also much bigger than her. She's terrified. But
No, she's not scared of me at all. But no, it's because I am excessively responsible.
yes. Yeah, well, that's the rub. And here's what's happened. This is a societal issue. This has been caused by extreme feminism of the last so many years, last 100 years, really. Uh, the men no longer have any onus to take that responsibility. Why would they? They could lose everything they build at the drop of a woman's hat. She's just decided now, because we have no fault divorce, we have all these things. She's just decided she doesn't want to be married anymore. Doesn't matter why, she just doesn't. So now she takes half your shit or more. You're just everything you worked for is gone. Everything you took responsibility for. Because another thing, they tried to, and they've successfully done this. Because if you say this to any woman, even a so-called conservative one, most of them will lose their mind. They tried to pretend that ownership dehumanizes something or a person. Yes, if they're a slave, yes. No. What I take ownership for is what I take responsibility over.
Yeah,
That's what it means.
yeah, it's a
That's all it's ever
responsibility.
meant.
Yeah,
It's just you're now responsible for that thing, whether legally or morally or both. You are responsible for that thing. So when I say I own my wife, people immediately recoil. No, I didn't say I own the woman that is my wife. I own my wife. I own my marriage. That's mine.
yeah.
I am
You just
responsible
use the
for
word
it.
responsible for.
Yeah, it's the same thing though.
Yeah,
That's my point.
yeah,
These are the same thing. There's a different level of property that used to be understood in the West. It was an aristocratic view of it. They took responsibility for X, Y, and Z, therefore it was their property. It was in their influence.
yeah.
That's what your marriage is. You do own your marriage. It is yours. You sign
Oh
a
yeah,
legal
it's a
binding
responsibility.
document
Yeah.
to own it. Yeah. So my point is, because we've let the left, and that's who's been pushing it, and the so-called feminists, which really are just the corporatists who wanted to drive a wedge between the family so they could drive up the market to where it's at now and make a bunch of money off the top. They don't give a shit
Oh well,
about
that
females or
is
their plight.
corporate greed is a
Um,
big problem. Yeah.
yeah, they but because we've allowed this to happen for so long, you have situations like your son's. Like I said, it was probably pragmatic, and it sounds like it is. He doesn't want to be under her thumb. That's completely reasonable. That's not an unreasonable
I
position
guess
at all.
I just not in his position. And he told me that by saying
Yeah.
not well, that's you, because my wife,
Yes.
just to kind of reinforce it, she asked me permission for everything. I mean, shit that
Right.
there's no reason for her to be asking me permission for, and it
It's
kind of
fine.
sometimes is a bit irritating. But I get why she does it because in the end, if something fucks up, who's responsible for it?
Right.
Me.
Exactly. Which is how
Um,
it's supposed to be.
yeah.
That's the way the world has worked since always, by the way. Always. Not there's never been a time where the man wasn't the head, meaning the one responsible for. There have even been times, and I actually think we should bring some of this back, where you were responsible if your child did something very wrong. They would punish you as well.
Oh yeah.
I think that's perfectly reasonable, actually. I don't
Well,
see anything
depending
wrong
on
with
the
that.
age of the kid, but yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
But no, if your
But
kid
yeah,
creates even in your adult child creates a big debt, it used to come back on you.
yep.
Yeah,
And
that is
I
true.
honestly don't see why that shouldn't be the case.
Well, it still is the case here.
Yeah, it's
It is.
smart. It keeps the family honest, or at least mostly
It keeps
honest,
them
right? They
interactive. Yeah.
don't bring shame to the family.
Well,
Don't because whether
I even have an
the
example
atomization.
here that I can make. There was a girl, a woman, working at
Mhm.
one of the fisherman cooperative banks, and she was skimming money off the top so she could go gamble at the pachinkos. Stupidest thing
Yep,
ever. But
yep.
of course she got caught. And and that money had to be paid back. But who paid it back? Not her, her parents.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's an adult
honestly,
woman.
I see nothing wrong with that system.
Not
I think
really.
it breeds a air of duty to everybody. From
Yeah.
the parents now have a duty to make sure their children aren't thieves, and the children now have a duty to their family to
Yeah.
be honorable.
True.
Uh,
But one thing
yeah.
about that I didn't like was they handled it very locally, and the police were never involved in the situation. And
Mm,
I don't think it's fair that okay, her parents paid for it, okay, fine, but she suffered no punishment. I'm sure she lost the job, but I mean, She should have
Right.
had some
Well, yeah, she
punishment,
should.
but
Yeah,
there
yeah, I
wasn't
agree.
any because they kept it. The Japanese do that a lot. They handle stuff internally without involving the police.
Yeah, but it got handled, I
It
guess.
did get handled,
Uh,
yeah, as it should.
but but my point is, and where I'm going with this is all downstream of, and we're getting deep apparently. This is all downstream of the egalitarian urge of the Western Northern European peoples. It's not an evil urge, it's not a bad thing, but it does have its consequences. And one of those consequences, which I don't know why we refuse to learn this lesson. They found the same damn thing out in Sparta and in Greece. I don't know why we won't learn this lesson, but apparently we have to relearn it once again. Um, Nothing is equal. Equality
No.
in nature is a lie, and equality in man is a lie. It'd be
Mhm.
nice if we were. That'd be great, but we don't
Well,
live in that world.
equality can exist, but equity cannot.
Well, what I mean by equality is we can have laws that are applied equally. That's fine. And that's how most people when they hear it, that's what they think. But for the egalitarian mind, the truly egalitarian mind, equity is the complete and total moral correct. It's the correct path. Because if we're equal, then why don't we have the same? You see,
No, that's
if we're
stupid.
equal, which is literally Karl Marx's argument. If I'm equal to you, why don't I? Why does this guy get to live in the big mansion and I
Yeah,
got
but
to live
he
in the
was an
hovel?
evil Satan worshiping the bum that lived on other people's money.
I understand, but the argument, the question, the proposition of liberty, of the liberal order,
Yeah,
was to eliminate that disparity. That was the goal, right? To eliminate aristocracy. That's what the goal was. The reality, however, is the human race is aristocratic, whether we like it or not. It is deep in our nature to have
sure.
betters and to have
Hierarchies.
lessers. Hierarchy, yes. You cannot escape it. And the fact that
No.
we've tried to escape it is why we're in the situation we are now, where the aristocrats, we'll call them, the oligarchs, the super, super wealthy, have everything, effectively, and the rest of us get peanuts, comparatively. It's not supposed to be that way. And in fact, in many ways, the peasants of the age, the old serfs of the day, had far more than we do now, comparatively, compared to the people at their above them, right? So like a lord back then, yeah, he had a better life, but it wasn't that much better comparatively. Like we live, you and me live far better than just about any lord in any feudal country that's ever existed.
Oh, for the most
Uh,
part, yeah.
yeah, so comparatively, they were living roughly similar lives. One was just working a little bit harder
Well, sure.
physically.
If the peasants are starving, well, the lords are too.
Correct. And that was equality. That bred equality. But the idea of egalitarianism isn't true. We're not equal to each other. I'm not equal to you, you're not equal to me.
No.
It's just simply untrue. And
Yeah.
and the truth of the matter is I'm not equal to myself. The me I was a few hours ago when I was walking in the park and I was jamming to some music and I was up, but I was on a high, Chester. You ever get on one of them highs where you just feeling good?
Oh, yeah,
I
but I
was one
hate
of
it
them.
the next day though.
That version of me and this version of me aren't the same. We're not equals. You're
Yeah.
not the same. You're not equal to yourself from the morning to the night. Why would I be equal to you?
Well, I
Equality is
took
a
a shit
lie, and
earlier, so I'd say I'm better than I was again.
that lie bred Marxism, and that Marxism bred feminism.
Yeah, no, no, I
And all
understand
of
that.
these things are downstream from each other. So until we're ready to face the propositional lie of the liberal world order that we've been living under since 1750, really, um, until we're ready to, and the next generation is, by the way, they agree with me, the young men do. Until we're ready to accept that hierarchy is not only natural, it's good, it's
Well,
correct.
it's it's how men function, and it's why when they do these stupid survival on an island thing with men and then women, which is
Yeah,
such an unfair challenge anyway, but they keep doing it because they're stubborn. But the reason why the men always do really well and the women always do really badly is because
yeah,
men have a built-in instinctual hierarchy, and
that's right.
within minutes you're going to have a leader and everybody is
Yep,
going to be broken down into what they do best. Men do this automatically and easily with no complaining, no fuss. It's no like, oh, why is me? No, it's like, oh, I do this is I'm helping, right? Women cannot do that. They're constantly having a talk about it because everyone gets to have their word, and that's not how it works. So men are built that way instinctually. We are hierarchical,
Yep.
And that's why we function well in that way. And that, I think, is what you're seeing happening with men just saying, "I know, screw it then," and just leaving women be and just going to do their own thing, and they're finding a lot of success, and women are finding more and more financial burden, and that's why they're bitching about give me this, give me that all the
And the
time.
truth is, the only reason why this hasn't collapsed is because the men are so fucking good at what we do. That's it. If it wasn't for the fact, and it's honestly, it's white men in America because they're the only tax positive demographic. If it wasn't for the fact that they're so good at it, they're so good at their job, which is to build and maintain society. If it wasn't for that, this thing would have collapsed a long time ago under this excess. But that's the only reason it hasn't happened. The reason why you can drive around on American streets, kind of, and not blow out a tire everywhere you go, it's because of the men. It's always been because of the men. But that's done now. It's over. This next generation's not playing that game. And I'm telling you, we're in for a realignment the likes of which the world has not seen probably since the 1700s. To be honest, 1700, late 1700s, early 1800s, the age of revolution that happened. And some of them were good and some of them were terrible, but they happened. And I think that's where we're at now. The system
Yeah,
simply doesn't benefit the common man anymore, and the
right.
only solution
It
to
needs
that
to be
is to rip
switched.
it down and fix it.
I
That's
think
it.
I think the point of the conversation, Roger, is to understand why the chaos exists that is going on and how the future may seem to facilitate it in a more, you know,
Yep.
peaceable manner. And why aren't we talking about why all the Avengers are lesbians now? Because,
Well, we kind of
well,
are.
it's been that way. But
Okay. Well, it's true.
you think I'm not on it, Roger? Dude, I'm on that shit.
There it is. Doctor Doom's Battle World teased in Avengers Doomsday leak.
Okay, the first question I got about this, who cares? Raise your hand.
No, let me put my hand down. Hang on. My hand was up for a second. We got
Hmm.
to get that back down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
And it's a
zero.
shame, too, because this could be awesome.
Yeah, well, not
Doctor
with.
Doom's the man.
Yeah, but not with Tony Stark in an alternate universe becoming Doom instead of Iron Man. No, no, that is not what I
Yeah.
want at all. But yeah, Doctor Doom could be super cool if they did it right. But I'm telling you, they're trying to make people hype for this, but I just have no interest at all. I'm really not interested.
No, no. Mm-mm. Nope. And it's a shame
Yeah,
because this could be awesome.
I don't know
Battle
why
World is a
Roger
cool
doubts
story.
me.
Doctor Doom is the man.
He
He's
is
been the man. He'll continue to be the man no matter what they do to him because he's Doctor Doom. It's kind of
right.
like Superman. They can fuck with Superman. Like, go ahead. He's gonna outlive you. He's outlived everybody else. He's gonna outlive you too. He's
True,
gonna be fine. Doctor
but
Doom's the same way.
it looks like they're once again throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at this movie. There's so many different aspects. Of course, now they're introducing the fact that, oh, I guess, as we can see down here, Battle World is now involved in the storyline. Like,
That's
huh?
right. Yep.
And the
Yep.
Russos are back, which could be good or bad, but doing this movie. But I just can't be bothered. We're getting some set stuff. It does look like Doom. Okay. But
Yep.
yeah. And then look at the frickin' we saw this thing where they every 15 minutes they were unveiling a chair. You saw that?
Yes. Yes.
So who do we got this? We got Chris Hemsworth, which I thought he was done with that character. Vanessa Kirby, who is this character?
No idea. Is that the chick who plays uh Monica Rambeau? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what her name was.
Okay. Anthony Mackie, boring dude. Sebastian Stan, people seem to like him. Paul Rudd, I seem to be the only one that likes his Ant Man. Wyatt Russell, no clue. Letitia Wright, no clue. Eben Moss Bachrach, no clue.
I mean, his
Tenok
name's cool.
Mureta Mejia, no clue. Simuliu,
That's Namor.
Namor.
Yeah.
Simuliu, no thank you. Florence Pugh. I got nothing against this girl, but she was cast because she was a short, no neck, unattractive girl. That's why she was picked. But she's kind of boring to me. Kelsey Grammer, really
Yeah, he's playing Beast again.
makes sense.
Mm.
Louis Pullman, whatever that is. Danny Ramirez, no clue. Joseph Quinn, no idea. David Harbour, I know that name. Winston Duke sounds familiar. Hannah
I mean,
John
that's a
Cat,
great
nope,
name.
none of this shit. Tom Hiddleston, of course. Patrick Stewart, really. Ian McKellen, they're still alive?
They are. They're gonna be in their 90s doing these movies, apparently.
Huh. Alan Cummings, Rebecca
Romin, yeah.
Romin,
That's,
James
Mystique.
Marsden, that sounds real familiar. Channing
That's,
Tatum,
Cyclops.
please, why? No, go
That's
away.
that's Gambit. That's Gambit.
I
No,
know
he's a
who
good
it
Gambit.
is.
He's a good Gambit.
Pedro
Good Gambit.
Pascal, and
Please go
once again,
away.
please go away. And Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, which is stupid. Okay.
It is, but if anybody can pull it off, it'll be him. I'm not gonna
Oh
doubt
no,
Robert
yeah,
Downey
yeah,
Jr.
probably he'll be
He's
fine.
done this before, and he's pulled it off, pulled it right out of his ass, so maybe it'll be great. He's a great actor when he gives a shit. He really is. He's
Yeah,
one
no,
of
I
those
like
guys
Robert.
who it's a shame that his life went the way it did for so long,
Yeah,
because he would
well,
have had an even better career, I think. But
drugs and alcohol, and he's got his
yeah,
brother there. I can't even remember his brother's name, but he's somewhat successful too.
yeah,
What's his brother's name?
I can't remember. But this movie,
His brother's actually much prettier than he is.
it's one of those things. It's kind of like when they did Batman versus Superman. It's like, yes, I want that movie to exist, but not the one that we got. I don't want
Yeah,
that one to exist. Um, it's just, gosh, it's such a shame, Chester. We finally get Doom.
yeah, we're
And in
not
all
getting it.
honesty, as great as the Thanos arc was, and it was, we'll give him credit. Well, Endgame was shit, but up until Endgame, it was good. Um,
Yeah, they built it up
or
proper.
mostly good.
It was built
Yeah,
up proper.
I would have rather they did that with Doom. If you were just going to go to Doom eventually anyway, why wouldn't you start with Doom? He's the main villain of Marvel. He just is. So why not start at the beginning? You know what I mean? Like just do it. Just lean into Doctor Doom. Give us proper Doctor Doom. And I honestly, here's what's going to happen. At least I'm assuming they're going to kill him off in this 2 movie arc. That's just stupid. Don't do that. He's Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom don't die.
Mm, I
He's
guess I was
Doctor
thinking about
Doom.
somebody else.
They should bring Doctor Doom is one of those guys who, if you're going to keep having this MCU situation, which I actually wish they would kind of let it rest, just let it go. Um, but if you're going to keep doing it, okay, fine. Doctor Doom should never die. I'm just going to say it right now. He's one of those guys who he's one of those perennial villains that you just don't get rid of, right? You just don't. He's too
Ah,
intrinsic to
no, they'll
Marvel.
kill him off. You know how they are.
Oh, they're going to kill him for sure. But he's too intrinsic in Marvel, and he's just too fucking cool. Doctor Doom's the man.
He is, but the thing that's getting with me, and the question I'm asking is this: I should be excited about it, but I could really give a shit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's
I've
also,
just been beaten
I
down
think
too much by him. I think.
emotionally, I think Robert Downey Jr. will probably pull this off, but he's just not Doom. Victor Von Doom is a beast. He's a Chad. Robert Downey Jr. is not that. He's a great guy, but he's not, if he walks into a room, nobody's intimidated. Doom walks into a room, everybody's looking at him like, whoa, wait a minute. What's this dude? What's this
Yeah.
dude doing? Mask or
Um.
no mask. He's that dude.
Yeah.
He's that dude.
Honestly, in the two movies we got before, Fantastic Four movies where Doom showed up,
Yep.
which is where he should be, by the way.
Yes.
Uh, they had that the Fassbender, is that his name?
No, no, no. It was oh, what was that guy's name? He was in that Nip Tuck show too.
Well, that guy.
Um,
Um,
yeah, he was
but
popular for a while there in the mid 2000s.
And it could have been cool, but they decided to just make him like an electric wielding mutant or altered human, right? Where, of course,
Right.
that's not what Doom is. He's a master of technology and magic. He's a
He's
magic user.
Technomancer.
He should be something, he's a technomancer. He should be something more akin to Doctor Strange, right?
Right.
Matter of fact, having him like in a background of some Doctor Strange movie, like at a meeting or something where he's in the background would have been a nice little Easter egg stinger, right?
Or even like a ambassador from Latveria
Something
shows
like
up and
that.
is talking. Some
Yeah.
like an emissary from there is talking to
But
Doctor
that's not
Strange,
what we're
has a
getting.
meeting with
We're
him.
getting Doctor Doom that is Iron Man Doctor Doom, which is
Is
not what
that
he is.
confirmed? That's what they're doing? Like, it's just Tony Stark or something?
I'm pretty
Their
sure from
version?
everything I've seen, it's just simply it's the same thing. Tony builds armor, but he muscles his way into being the leader of Latveria or something like that.
Mm.
But
That's a
I don't
shame.
know. It could be amazing. Who knows? But I'm so apathetic about it.
Yeah, yeah. It's a shame. It's Doctor fucking Doom,
It should be
and I'm just
cool.
like,
Yeah.
eh,
Oh well,
eh.
whatever. We're going to get whatever we get, and but the problem is that Disney keeps losing money over and over and over and over and over. And honestly, is this going to be any different? I don't know. Um, so we'll see. But that conversation continues here.
Where did all the Marvel fans go? Daredevil ratings embarrass Disney.
Now
They chased them off. Very
they
simple.
did.
That's it.
Therefore, my
That's it.
apathy seems to be quite universal.
Yes,
Now, to be fair, this show is extremely woke. It's
of course.
extremely woke. Don't let anyone lie to you. It's super woke. It's all about the girls, and it's all about the women yelling and scolding Daredevil and yelling and scolding Kingpin. It's all it is. The women just criticizing and nagging the men. That's all it is. 100%
Lovely.
is what
That's
it
what
is.
Daredevil's about.
It's
100%.
what Daredevil's about. And of course, the few cool characters they do throw in, like the guy here with the mask, they're not used properly at all because they're men. You see, and they need to be made fun of and mocked, right? So there is that. The fact that it is super woke is a whole nother issue. But
Yeah.
yeah, but no one showed up even from day one, right? Like Razor Fist, right? For instance, Rageaholic, right? Um, he is a big time Daredevil fan. He loves Daredevil. And he did
Mhm.
do a review on the first two episodes, and he was concerned that it was going to go woke, but episode 1 and 2 he felt were not bad. It was a good start. Not as good as Netflix, but it was a good start. And of course, it just went downhill from there. But I think it's the same thing I was saying about the Doomsday, or Avengers Doomsday. I'm just not bothered. I didn't even bother to watch it, dude. I didn't even bother to turn it on.
Yep.
It's like,
Yeah. It's a shame. It's
it
what they've
is.
done,
Yeah,
Chester. It is what they have done. They only have themselves to blame.
yeah,
Everybody tried to warn them that this is what was going to happen. Look, I get it. You made the MCU. It was wildly successful beyond even your wildest dreams. Let's be honest.
yeah, yeah.
And it actually did bring in a bunch of women. But here's the rub, guys. It brought in a bunch of women because the men were manly-ish. You
Oh
had
yeah.
you had Chris Hemsworth being jacked in the Chad. You had Chris Pratt being adorable and gorgeous. You had Robert Downey Jr. being Mr. Charisma. You had Chris Pine, or not Chris Pine. What's his name? Chris Evans.
Evans.
Being there's too many Chris's. Being unbelievably jacked and basically everybody's like dad as Captain America.
He was
Um,
very good at Captain America. Captain America
oh,
is a bit
so good.
underrated, I think.
So good.
Yeah.
My point is, this was loaded with testosterone, no matter how hard they tried for it not to be. And it brought in women because believe it or not, women like heroes too. They do.
No,
They
sure.
like heroic
Of
men.
course.
Crazy, I know. They like heroic men.
Yeah.
So you tell these incredibly, most of them were good, and some of them were great stories with these incredibly brave men. You pivoted away from them hard,
Well,
downplayed all of them, turned them into simps, cucks, and losers, or treated them as such, and then you wonder why nobody wants to watch it. Women
well,
don't want simps, cucks, or losers. That's why they're simps and cucks and losers, because women don't want them.
that's right. And women went with the men. Let's be
That's
fair,
right.
right? And sure, they put some eye candy in there for the girls, and you're right, everyone likes a hero. But
That's right.
it was mainly for the men. And of course, what they did was they shifted and said, no, no, no. Now we did all that. Now we're going to make the movies for the women, and the men can just kind of trail along. Well, it ain't going to happen because that's not what women want to watch, dude. Women want to
The
watch, Real Housewives and crap like that.
right.
That's what
The
they want.
greatest statement I've ever heard about filmmaking, and not I should let me be clear, not cinema, not trying to make some grand artistic deep dive into the human spirit. No, no. filmmaking, making movies, was from George Lucas. Probably the greatest idea man when it came to movies, and not just movies like what you see on screen, but
Certainly most successful. Yeah.
how to make them. This man's impact is underrated, and he might be the singular most impactful person to ever live when it comes to Hollywood. But how to actually make like Industrial Light and Magic and things, how to actually make a film. His ethos in the first trilogy, I don't know what happened later, but in the first trilogy was if you make it for a 12 to 15-year-old boy, you make it for everybody. That is what the MCU was originally made for.
Yeah.
12 to 15-year-old boys. It was obvious that's who their target was, and it works. And guess what? Women and girls can get in on it too, just like they did with Star Wars. This idea that it was mostly men, let's be fair. Plenty of women love Star Wars too. Love Star Wars. Star Trek, another example. Plenty of women love Star Trek too.
Yeah.
So, if you make it for that target in mind, what do they like? What do they like? Well, they don't want it to be too romantic. We don't need too much crazy romance and all this drama, but they want a little bit, right? Young boys still like it a little bit. They just don't want it over the top. They obviously want people to aesthetically look good and look pleasing and stuff because everybody wants that. But they also want very simplistic, not simple, but simplistic hero stories. And that's what you gave them. And it
Yeah.
worked.
And it worked.
And it's
Um,
it's been working forever.
yeah.
Comic books, that's always been the target audience. I don't know when we got confused, but that's always been the target
Yeah.
audience is young
Now,
men.
there are other countries who comic books function differently. Like here in Asia,
Yeah,
you have comics for boys and you have comics for girls. They have
correct.
both. But in America, traditionally, it's a boy hobby, for sure. And I haven't heard that actually, Roger. That's interesting. But back to this right here, which is on the screen. Now, cucking out Daredevil, seeing as he's a moody Catholic, you could do it correctly. It's possible.
Yep.
But cucking out the Kingpin? Are you
No.
fucking kidding me? And
He
that
would
and they
murder
do,
ladies.
they cucked him hard, dude. I mean, we already saw him do that in the Echo thing. They cucked him super hard. But this Daredevil said, "Hold my beer, dude." For goodness sake, they cucked Kingpin in an incredible way. His wife was a better Kingpin than him.
Of course she was.
Of course she was. It's just incredibly woke. But like I said, you don't even have to get to that because no one showed up for even episode one because everyone's like just done with Disney, dude. They're done. And I have a
Yep.
feeling this Avenger movie is going to flop, even if it is good,
We'll
because
see.
people are done.
We'll see. It's
They're
not gonna
done.
do anything like Endgame did, or even probably Infinity War. But I think it might still make a little bit of money. But we'll see. It might not. It very well might not.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate, but it is what it is, guys. And of course, you're looking at the viewing here, right? It's not even in the listings, guys, in the
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nielsen's. It's not even in the Nielsen's. It didn't even show up at any time. It doesn't exist. It's insane. I don't know what the Residence is, but that's killing it on Netflix. Reacher, of course, new season. Everyone watched it, right? I watched it. Did you watch it?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah. It's
Pretty
better
good.
than the second one, but not as good as the first. There you go.
No.
And the first isn't as good as it could have been. So that's the
And the only
Reacher.
reason one of the main reasons the first is so good is because they didn't muddy it too much, and the cast had better chemistry. All of them did, I think. He had really good chemistry with that black guy, and he had obviously good chemistry with the girl.
Oh, he
Um,
had really good chemistry with that girl. Matter of fact, so
yeah,
much so they should bring him back to that girl. For
yeah,
sure.
I
And
agree.
that black guy you're talking about in the first one, I can't remember that actor's name, but yeah, that was good. Because the
Yep,
chemistry was really good between everybody there. It
yeah,
really worked
that's why
really
it worked.
well. Yeah.
That's why it worked.
Severance 1923. I have no clue I don't know any of these things. The Pit, I'm assuming that's the comic book Pit.
I have no idea.
It's
I truly
the
don't.
Wheel of Time. I'm surprised it has any points at all because that is a horrible tragedy what they did to that fantasy series. They cucked that out and they've feminized that to the nth degree.
Yep.
Caught, don't know. When life gives you tangerines, no clue. Good American Family, no clue. I don't know any of this shit. Have you seen any of this?
No, I heard Severance. Well, I've seen Reacher, but I heard Severance is pretty good. I don't know. I heard the first season was really good of Severance, but then the second season's been kinda ass, so I have no idea. Um, but yeah, no, that's one of the problems. There's so much stuff out there now. There's just no way to keep I don't know how anybody has time to watch all this stuff.
Or any
Because
of it. Yeah.
a lot of these shows are like hour-long episodes too. So not only are you watching it, you're committing at least an hour to it. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here?
Yeah. And keep in mind, Hulu, Disney owns Hulu. So
So
Disney had a hit here on their Hulu show, Good American Family, but their Disney Plus is Daredevil, nothing. It's really
nothing.
bad, dude. And look
Not
at
good.
this. Look at their overall viewership. Look at that, dude. Holy.
Is that I'm assuming that's 1,000. There couldn't have only been 400 people who watched it. That's gotta be, what's the actual chart say up there? I bet it says somewhere. What's that bottom? I can't read the, fine print
Millions.
here. Million, okay. So that must be, like,
Minutes viewed by
total.
millions. So this is
Gotcha.
wow, that's a lot of people watching a lot of minutes. But yeah, so these are under that. So yeah, but no, it's got to be less than that because it's not even on the chart. And the lowest thing on the chart is 344. So this says viewership ratings right here.
Yeah,
Let
it's
me
gotta
click
be.
on it. Let me click. It could be as low as that, dude, because nobody's watching it, dude.
What do we got?
This is minutes watched.
Yeah, 465 million minutes. So,
Oh, here it is.
well,
Yep,
that's such a weird way to break it
it
down. So
is.
it's
It's the
kinda
way
hard to
they do it,
tell.
though.
Yeah, it's kinda hard to tell how many actual people, because that could be multiple people watching it too, right? Watching it through.
It could.
Um, but it's still nowhere near enough. There's YouTube videos that get more than that.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's but it's yeah, no, there's YouTubes that get way more than that, dude. A
Yeah.
lot of them, but yeah, yeah, I think it's just people say, "Oh, it's superhero fatigue." No, it's not. No, it's not.
Oh, it's this
It
bullshit fatigue is what it
it is
is. That's
bullshit
what it
fatigue.
is.
It's
Yeah.
people are sick and tired of it. Like I heard
I
this.
don't fully believe in the idea of fatigue, and the reason why, think about this. Westerns, back in the day, dominated
Hmm.
for 40 years.
They
For
did.
40 years.
Yeah,
I don't think it was fatigue that made that go away. I think people, they just ran out of stories at some point. It
yeah,
wasn't really that the
became
market didn't
redundant.
want it anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was just like, "Okay, I've seen this one, I've seen that one." They wanted to see new things. It's not
yeah.
so much a I think fatigue's the wrong word.
And of course, you had
It's
us
something
going
that
to
we
space, a
use.
space race and stuff, which affected people.
Yes, yes, yeah. Plus, in the '60s and the '50s and the '60s especially, sci-fi was huge. So it,
Yeah, yeah.
like, really drove the culture that way.
Yeah. And then you had the collapse in the 70s of Hollywood, and then you had the indies coming up, and the 80s took place,
Yep.
for sure. But they're just kind of shooting themselves in the face by not getting the hint and just shifting it up because it's going to take time for people to forgive and come back. And
Yes.
they know what they're doing is wrong, but they're refusing. They're being very slow to react to it because they
You
don't
wanna hear
want to.
something crazy, Chester? Think about this. Endgame was made in, like, 2017, 2018, came out in 2019, right?
Hmm.
The next Avengers 2 sets of movies will be about a decade apart from
Mm,
Endgame. About a decade, about 10 years,
yeah.
and people are still just, "Eh,"
Well,
because they
the Disney
won't
Plus is
stop
what killed them.
putting this shit out. Yeah, it
All
did.
that
They
Disney
shouldn't
Plus
have.
nonsense.
It would've been fine if it was good, it would've been fine if it was
Sure.
sparing, or if they had made it, like Elseworld stuff or whatever, right? Something to that effect, but they didn't. They tied
Well,
everything into the MCU directly.
it's the choices. They could have easily given us female-led stuff, no problem. But they needed to make the choose the correct female by taking Captain America and doing something that never existed in Captain America and making Sarah, I think her name is Carter, his
Yep,
love interest way back before they were even part of Marvel, right?
yep.
From World War II comics. And then making her Captain America, that's not what you do. What you do is you take something like Kamala Khan here. You could have done that character right, right? Storm, you could have done that character right. You could have
Oh,
done. the original, like they did with First Class, and focused more on Jean Grey. She's a beloved character. You could. How about this? How about giving us a Kitty Pride run?
Mhm.
Right? A lot of guys would have liked that, because there would have been all kind of cool dudes around her, and it's a girl trying to, become part of it, become something. And of course, eventually she does, right? There's so many female characters they could have chosen and made stories about, but they didn't. Because what they need to do is take the male characters and reduce them and
That's right.
destroy them, really, and say, no,
Well,
no, no, no,
and the
women can do it better.
main reason they have to do that is because they're so afraid of actually having these females be human characters, giving them nuance and giving them pathos, giving them things, flaws, right? That aren't just, well, it's not really a flaw. It's just, blah blah blah. No, they're so afraid of doing that. They're also afraid of, making them, oh, I don't know, hot. You know, like
Yeah,
people like to, because I spoiler, you weird gremlin people that make these movies, even women like hot women.
yeah, they do.
They just
Um,
do.
like for instance, in the Daredevil movie, the first one, right? I think it was the
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
In the end, he's got to go do a fight, and he's got Colossus with him, right? And he's got the little Birchster girl. What's her name? She's
Oh,
got a
you
weird
mean
name.
Deadpool. Yeah, Deadpool movie.
Deadpool,
Yeah.
sorry, Deadpool.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead,
Teenage
basically.
Warhead, right?
Yeah.
And she wasn't as cool as Gina Carano's character. She was playing a bad guy. But like for instance, in
Mm.
that fight, she's fighting Colossus, right? And she gets her licks in on Colossus, but in
Yep.
the end, he puts her down, right?
Right.
But that was a great use of that character. She's a villain, so she should lose anyway. But they
Mhm.
did a good job. Gina looked thick and strong, and she was playing a super strength character. And that nice little fight between her and Colossus was great. The teenage girl, the Nega Warhead girl, she was fun too, right? So I mean, you
Yep.
can have these fun female characters. They just refuse to do it, and they're always so concerned with tearing down the male, and they're wasting too much thought on it. Boom Boom would have been great, dude. And she Boom Boom is kind of that punky tank girl type of character as well. You could have had a lot of
Yep.
fun with Boom Boom, dude. But I
Yep.
mean, if we just take a look at it, I mean, let's just look at it here. Um,
Bro,
Female,
if you're gonna do small, like, one-off series based on, like, female X-Men or female in that world or whatever, there's no reason you couldn't do one about Rogue. There's no reason you couldn't do, like you said, Storm, Jean could be fine, especially if they were just, like, mini series, like, only 4 or 5 episodes, right?
sure.
Uh Yeah, because you could do their backstories and blah blah blah. You could do Emma Frost. Whew, please do Emma Frost. Make her hot. You could do all sorts of stuff. There's so many
That's
Mystique.
not what I
There's so
wanted.
many
Um,
really cool females in the X-Men
did I not
specifically.
put female? Yeah, I did. Excuse me. Let's see if this does. But yeah, no, Emma Frost would be great because her storyline, for instance, with her background, right? Emma, of course, we know is a telepath, but she also has the diamond skin, right? And they don't
Right.
work in conjunction with each other. But Emma comes from a family full of mutants, right? But her father, when she was a kid, her father was a freaking beast. Just a nasty, hardcore, you're never good enough type of dude. Now, in the long run, she became her father, right? But
Right.
you do the story of Emma Frost from childhood. That could be a lot of
Yeah.
fun, dude. See why she became this hardcore, hard nosed just bitch. Why did that happen? And it's good reason. The story's actually her story's pretty good.
But
Um,
I don't want Marvel or Disney Marvel to do it because they're not going to let her be hot, and Emma's hot.
well, she's just drawn that way.
What do you mean?
Um,
What do you mean? Well, she's one of the hottest characters in Marvel history. What are we talking about right now? Emma Frost? Come
yeah,
on,
no, you're
bro.
right.
That's
You're
like
right.
she's gotta be hot. That's one
Sure,
of her
okay, make
things.
her
She
hot.
uses her sex appeal.
No, I have no problem with that. But she does use the sex appeal. You're right. But I mean, if you honestly told her story, it would be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Dazzler could be really cool too, because
Yep.
Dazzler is. a girl who came up and she tried to use her abilities for financial gain by being a singer because her abilities allow her to. That's a perfect venue for her being on stage with her abilities. But
Right.
there's a lot of females they could do. Rogue. Why haven't we getting a proper rogue movie, dude? A rogue series. You could do so much with this girl. You needed to do better than Fox did because the girl they cast was wrong.
Yeah.
Very
Again,
wrong.
she needs to be hot.
Yeah, no,
That's why.
you can make her hot, but she needs to be a girl from the bayou. She needs to be a
The
tomboy.
reason why Rogue needs to be hot is because it's part of the thing that makes her character tragic. She's beautiful, but she can't be touched.
That is
Right?
true.
She
That
is
is
a
true.
modern take on the like the Virgin, the what's those called?
Vestal
The
Virgins.
yes, the Vestal Virgin. That's basically the idea, right? She's
Yeah.
so
Beautiful but
beautiful
untouchable. Yeah.
but
Um,
untouchable.
well, no, and because the girl that Fox chose, she was an upper middle class girl. That's
Yes.
not Rogue, man. She needs to be
No.
this girl hanging around the swamp, tomboy, running around with the boys,
Yep.
very tomboyish, and sure, mega hot, and of course tragic. Now, the Fox movie dealt with the tragedy thing, the tragic aspect of not being able to touch a little bit, but they didn't really delve into it. You could make a great series off of young Rogue learning, gaining her abilities and what how she handles it.
Desperate for love, like the
Desperate.
whole
It'd
deal.
be awesome.
Yeah.
Rogue would be amazing. Storm, why?
The baddest
Why?
bitch in Marvel, in my opinion, Storm.
Yeah,
The baddest bitch. I
unbelievably.
don't know. She's should be everything they want. Everything. She's black, there you go. She's an actual bad bitch, and everybody's cool with it because Storm's
She's a
awesome.
goddess.
She's quite literally a goddess to the African folks. Uh, I don't know. I
Eh,
have no idea. Storm's been getting shit on for decades. I will never understand. It makes no sense. She's by far my favorite female in Marvel, by far.
Yeah, she's cool.
Uh, I don't get it. I
Now,
just don't get it.
the Storm that they kind of gave us, she's really very much a side character, but the Storm they were kind of giving us in the rebooted First Class, X-Men,
Yeah,
with that girl, the African girl, it was okay. They just didn't give us enough of it. They didn't focus on it. But
I
yeah,
just
she's a
really
cool
don't want
character.
Mohawk Storm. Give me elegant
Yeah, fine then.
Queen Goddess Storm. I
Um,
like that one better.
Jean Grey could be good. I already mentioned that, but to be honest with you, I don't know how well she works outside the team dynamic, though.
You could do the backstory of her and Cyclops coming up under Xavier from her
Yeah,
point of view with
her and
Cyclops there
Beast
too,
and
and then how
and
they get married and
Iceman.
ended on their wedding or something. Yeah. That could be cool with her as the main character because she's
Yeah,
kind of a little bit sometimes is, and then they shift away from her. But yeah,
right. Yeah, but I mean, Scarlet Witch, they've really screwed that up.
yeah,
They screwed this up so bad. I just this first of all, you have to connect her to her father and her
yep,
brother. You have to. They gave us a little bit of her being with her brother, but
they
hardly any
killed her brother
connection whatsoever. They
immediately.
killed her brother. But you need that connection, dude. And then you need her father because that's part of the struggle of Scarlet Witch. And they kind of tacked on a little bit of the fact that she has a demon seed in her, right? But not really,
Yeah,
because they were too busy making her girl boss, right? This is a very tragic character, and you could do a lot of cool things with her. Invisible Woman, you need the team dynamic. Black Widow, they've done a lot with her, to be fair. Um,
yep.
I think it's fine what they've done with her. Emma, we already talked about. She Hulk, they screwed that up big time. So, dude,
Boy,
all you had to do was follow the comic book. What are you doing?
yep,
They turned her into a
yep.
whore. I thought this was about empowerment of women and feminism and all that, but they just made her a whore.
Well, I mean, yeah,
She is kind of whorish, to be fair.
yeah,
Uh,
she is
but
kind of a
um,
whore.
but I mean, yeah, they screwed this up. Captain Marvel. Oh man, I want to punch someone real hard, dude. I mean, they so screwed it up. This is their ultimate girl boss comic. The comic books have been trying to. They hate that at the top of Marvel comic books, the little thumbnail at the top of the comic always has Spider-Man. They wanted to make it the Captain Marvel, and they're so pissed that they couldn't pull it off. They've been pushing this girl boss And they've how many comics are we in now that they just, "Oh, well, it got canceled,
Oh,
start
I
another
don't
one,
know.
got canceled, start another one." We're at least 5 in, at least,
Gotta be.
right?
Gotta be.
And the thing is, these dumbasses, if they had done the Marvel story, which they were in a perfect situation to do so, it was perfectly set up for it. Obviously, it was planned. But someone came in and said, "No, no, no, we got to girl boss this up." If they had followed that love story where Marvel dies and we have the whole thing with Ronan the Accuser coming in, which they did with Guardian of the Galaxy, it was right there, dude. And he dies, and and they're in love, and on his deathbed, he bequeaths his powers to her, and that's how she becomes Miss Marvel, right? If they had
Yep.
followed that love story, dude, it would have been a mega hit. People would have loved it.
Yep. Can't have that though.
But it was so perfectly laid out. It was right there, right there.
Can't have it.
Unbelievable.
Not allowed.
Can't have it. Elektra, yeah, I've never been a big fan, to be honest with
They
you.
did some stuff with Elektra, but
A
yeah, I'm
little
not with
bit.
you on that.
Now, here's another
Ugh.
one. You could do a lot with her, but what did they decide to do with her? Well, we got to make sure we kill in the comics, right? We have to make sure we kill off Wolverine because we can't have him around if we're going to have her for some reason. Although Logan
Mm,
showed that you can have them working together really well, right?
yeah.
Father daughter type of thing. And of course, they slutted her out and lesbianed her out as well, right? But this character right here, if you did it proper, you could have a lot of fun with this character.
Well,
Laura could easily be a fan favorite, dude. Kitty Pryde, I already mentioned it. That would be great to follow her struggle to become part of something and eventually become a professor at the school,
yep.
right? And that's her storyline. And her and Colossus. It pissed me off so much that they finally got to the point where they're going to marry him, and then they, of course, did the flip on you, and now I think she hates him because she's just a hardcore lesbian now, right?
Of
But
course
it's
she
like,
is.
what the hell's wrong with you, dude? Doing a Kitty Pride run would be more fun than Rogue, I think.
Think so.
No, we don't need Gwen at all. Spider Woman, if you did it right,
Yeah. But
you
she
know.
has to be hot.
Okay, yeah, why does it everybody have to be hot for you?
No, not everybody, but she does. Hang on, my voice just took a complete shit. Hang on, I'll be right back. I'll explain.
He's got to explain. But of course, um, this would be an interesting sci-fi story because her parents working for Hydra. They were working in Wundagora Mountain, doing experimentation on spiders that are only found on that mountain, and she ended up getting affected by radiation, and her father tried to find a way to save her, and yada yada yada. And she ended up working with Hydra, and then finding out that oh, these guys are actually the bad guys, and moving on to become a superhero. There's a
Yep.
good story there.
Yep. But she's also got to be hot.
Okay,
The
explain.
reason she's got to be hot is because a big part of her appeal as a character, not just as something we look at, is her sexuality. She's a doesn't she I swear she has something to do with pheromones too.
She
I can't
does.
remember
She
exactly.
does.
Yeah.
But they
So she's
only
gonna have to
really, really
have it.
work on Spider-Man, though.
Well, that's fine. She can seduce Spider-Man. I'm fine with that. But my point is, she's got to be hot, and that's what they don't want. They don't. That's why this is the real reason, Chester. At the end of the day, all their wanking and their mental masturbation about their morals and their principles and their ethics, it's all bullshit. At the end of the day, what they really want, or what they don't want, is the male gaze, the sexualized male gaze. They hate it. They hate the
They do.
idea that men care if a chick's hot or not over anything else because a lot of them are ugly mongoloid people that nobody wants. So they're angry and they're bitter and they're envious. And they're going to take it out on all these evil, wicked men who wouldn't look at them in high school. And that's why you're not allowed to have hot women in movies anymore. That's it. That's the only reason. Because if it was really about female empowerment, well, one aspect of femininity that is quite literally amazing is beauty. And we're not allowed to have beauty anymore. We get
Yeah, here
we
we go.
get frumpy. We get mids. We get a lot, and not even mids. Some of these women are just. I see hotter ones literally working as cashiers. Like, what are we doing here? Why, why ain't she in the movie? She looks way better than this chick. There's this girl that works at our Sam's around here, our Sam's Club, in the food thing, whatever it's called, little thing where you get the cheap hot dogs that are delicious, and she's beautiful. She's tall, slender, long dark hair, and I'm like, "What are you doing working here? Why aren't you in movies?
Oh,
Why don't
Hollywood
I get
wouldn't
women
have
like
her.
you in
They
movies
wouldn't have her.
anymore?
She's too pretty these
Way too
days.
pretty."
Yeah. Maple Sheik says he enjoyed. He thought Shania Twain would be a great rogue. Yeah, I can see that. But let's look at
Yep,
her power set. Wall crawling, we know.
mhm,
Superhuman strength, speed, stamina, durability, agility, and reflexes. Sure. Flexibility, superhuman hearing, and of course, contaminated immunity. Um, yeah, she it's hard to medicate her because her body is kind of like with Wolverine. She got her venom blast, of course, her healing factor, her longevity, and the pheromones. Here they are. So
there they
pheromones.
are.
Her metabolism generates certain types of pheromones that can create fear, elicit attraction, and or repulsion on
Boom.
others, depending on unknown factors, which might include gender and mood. So I'm sorry, I was confusing her with Silk. Silk is the one who has pheromones that work specifically well on Spider-Man, not her.
Yep.
But of course,
In
she
other words,
glides with
she
her.
needs to be hot.
She needs to be hot, yeah. And of course, these are her skills that she has gained. Of course, keep in mind she was trained under Taskmaster with Hydra, so she is
Yeah, she's a
capable.
bad bitch.
She is
She's a
bad
bad
bitch,
bitch.
and she could be a really cool, fun character. Like I said, especially
Femme fatale.
it's a science fiction story, right?
Yep.
She is a 100% science fiction story, and it could be fun. But she needs to be hot. Gamora, and they wasted that character. She was never very interesting anyway.
Nah.
Wasp, they threw that away.
Yeah,
Jessica
she should have
Jones,
been leading or co-leading the Avengers. I don't know what the fuck they're
I don't
doing.
know what they did. That was such a weird choice. Jessica, the series, David Tennant took the show with being Purple Man. He was amazing. The
He
casting
was.
was wrong. The casting was wrong. Um,
But David Tennant was amazing as
oh,
even though he's an insufferable douche,
yeah,
when he
no, he
acts,
was
the man
awesome
is
as Purple
unbelievable.
Man, dude. It was so badass. But anyway, they didn't it didn't pull as much as it should have been. Mary Jane Watson, no, fuck off. She is Spider-Man's girl.
I mean,
Peggy Carter, Peggy.
unless we're gonna do from the perspective of her just being a wife, yeah, okay. You
No,
want
it
you want
this
your
is
slice of life show with Mary Jane?
well, now it could be it now that's interesting. You could do a Mary Jane where her Peter is being Peter Spider-Man and all the stuff
Yep.
she has to deal with extra beyond a normal wife. But this is modern Marvel, which is trying to make her a superhero in her own right, which is stupid.
Mhm.
This is modern Marvel too. Peggy Carter, no, fuck off.
Already did
And
Peggy
then
Carter.
Squirrel Girl. Now Squirrel Girl, if done in a proper comedic style, could be fun.
Yeah.
It could be fun, but I think she needs to be part of a group. But they completely ruined this character. They
There
literally
there's
made
one
her have Down syndrome.
there's one they can have who isn't hot.
Yeah, no, she's not hot. Yeah, but my the point being is there are plenty of good female characters, and they just refuse. They just want to. What do we get? Instead of getting one of these cool characters, we get Hawkeye turned into a female. We get you know all the kind of nonsense that they've been giving us. But oh well.
I would Chester, I would love for a proper, like, little mini series, or you could turn it into a whole series, I guess, about Storm. I think
Yeah,
Storm is the perfect one to do it on. Aurora is a great character. She always has been. There's a reason why she ended up leading the X-Men for a while, and nobody really gave a shit. I was like, "Yep, that makes sense. That checks out." Because she's awesome, and she could continue to be awesome with the right cast, the right scripting in the right direction, and not some. What makes her great is we don't need this what we've gotten from the Black Panther movies and what we've gotten from every other black led show where it's basically just some metaphor for racism or whatever. You don't need
yeah,
to do
yeah.
that with her. It doesn't make any sense with her actually until maybe she gets to America, I guess. But for most of her beginning of her story, it doesn't even make any sense. Uh, Plus, she's just one of the things that they haven't been able to pull off with these women, and this is another problem, is none of them have actual aura, have actual imperiousness, have that thing that makes people just kind of respect them. One of the things they got very right with most of the male leads, I would say Black Widow's the exception. They did a pretty good job with her, but with most of the male leads, is they kind of got that. Like Tony and Cap especially, they're in charge, and there's very little questioning except between each other about what to do and what not to do. They don't really, you see what I'm saying? Like they own it. They come in and they take ownership of it. They haven't been able to do that with any of the women because one, they don't know how to write women that are like that. There are women that are like that. There are women that are alphas, alpha women, and they just have this way about them where they can take control of a situation.
Yeah,
Uh,
like Dana Scully.
but they do it through. They don't do it the same way a man would do it, right? A great example I will give you, and then I'll get off of this. If you watch the original Gladiator movie, we're going to pretend the other one doesn't exist. If you watch Gladiator, when she walks into the Senate and her brother or whatever he is, Commodus, is being a douchebag, and she calms the whole situation down with just one sentence, right? His sister, I can't remember her name. That is how a woman handles it, and they even acknowledge it in the senators even acknowledge it that her, I think they say her wisdom and grace demands obedience or something like that. That's how you would do it. One of
Yeah,
the things that they haven't been able to do because they don't want to admit that women and men, aren't the same thing, just with different body parts, is they haven't been able to create a character that has that. Storm can have that. Storm can have that elegance about her where she takes charge. Now she can be a badass too, but that's fine. She doesn't need to rule the way a guy would rule, right? And if it was written well and they understood the character on a deep level and why she's so beloved, um, you would have an unbelievable story.
yeah,
It would be. It'd be an unbelievable from a female perspective, without it pandering, without any of this bullshit, and they would get the thing that they say they want: a powerful female in charge. Because Storm, she's kind of in charge, pretty much. Once she gets on the X Men,
she
doesn't
led the
take her
X
long
Men
to be
quite a bit.
yeah, doesn't take her
Yeah,
long to become number two, and then eventually number one.
yeah,
So
that's a good character. Yeah,
yeah,
for
so
sure.
good.
And they don't want to give it to us. Another thing here with Mystique, we saw quite a bit of her from Fox and on into Disney.
Yep,
But you this is a classic bisexual character. It's been around a long time, right?
yep.
And of course, the character above her here, Destiny, is her long time, her true love, actually,
Right.
Destiny. So why didn't we get any of that? They seem to be all about that stuff. So why didn't they give us that?
Um, I
It's
don't
weird.
know. Hmm.
I mean, because she was with Azrael, of course, and that's where, of course, Nightcrawler comes from, because that is Nightcrawler's mom. But this is her true love, Destiny, right?
Right.
Because they had Cassandra Nova in the Wolverine Deadpool movie, but
They did.
see, it was that movie's just a parody joke. It's not a serious movie at all. They've given us Juggernaut a couple of versions of it. It's fine. I'm just kind of going through here, looking
Chester,
at some of the characters we could get. But anyway,
Chester, what you just said is silliness.
what?
Of course it's a parody movie. It's Deadpool.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I mean
That's the
more
point.
so than the other ones. This last one is the most parody of them. It's just all tongue
Yep.
in cheek, goofing. I mean,
Yep.
they killed was it Johnny Storm as a joke. She literally flensed him.
That's right.
Okay.
Correct.
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean,
But are you expecting me to argue with you? No, it's absolutely. But that's the point of that movie. That's what it's for. The
yeah,
point of that movie,
that's
and
fine.
Ryan Reynolds even said it, is this is a love letter to the 20 plus years of
Yeah.
Fox's
Yeah, a lot of
movies.
cameos, just goofing.
Yeah,
Anyway, let's take
it'll
a
be
look
fun.
at our box office here. Sinners is had another good week. They're still at the top of the chart. And it's
Look at
definitely
that
making
though.
some money.
Look at number two. Did you see
Yeah, I'm
number
going to
two?
get to
That's
it in a second.
hilarious.
It's kind of nice, yeah. Especially for your generation. But this movie is we looked at it last week. It is made by a guy who only makes black only people movie, so there's something about that. But people seem to be liking it. It's made $80 million. I bet you they've made money already.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of I'll be honest. I kind of want to see it. I
yeah.
hear
I'm
it's
going to
really good.
watch it. I'm definitely going to watch it. Like I said, I didn't care for his Black Panther movies, but I like Creed.
Creed's the first Creed and the,
Yeah,
second Cre I haven't seen the third one
I haven't
because
seen
they
any of the.
they
I just saw the first.
they strong-armed Sylvester Stallone out of it, so I'm not interested. But the first one and the second one are, pretty good. I actually think I like the second one better than the first one, to be
Really,
honest.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I
I
did
think you'd
like
like it.
first one. Yeah. Anyway, I am going to check this out. So I'm cool. It's making money. But yeah, this is what he's on about. Of course, Revenge of the Sith considered to be the only good prequel movie by most people.
Yeah.
Um, and they've just relaunched it, so this is free money, baby.
Free money.
$21 million in the pocket. That ain't
That's
bad.
only in
That ain't bad.
2,000 theaters too, that ain't bad. Um, yeah, no, that's pretty good for a 20-year-old movie that most people well, I don't know about most people, but a lot of people have maligned that whole trilogy. I really don't understand why they aren't just doing this constantly. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Why
Why
not
not?
every year? Like, just do it on its anniversary whenever it was released. Why not?
Yeah.
It's
Why
free
not?
money for you at this
It's
point. Just
free
print it.
money, and we've been seeing a little bit more of it. But to be fair, honestly, what I would be doing with these big studios, take some of your really great popular little movies of the past, and put them under the kind of modern CGI a little bit, and clean, improve the special effects a little bit, and then have a special edition relaunch. Why not? Uh,
Well, I think the reason you don't get that is because George Lucas did that with the original trilogy and people lost their shit.
yeah,
So I
but
bet you
that's a
that's why they're
sacred cow. I'm not talking about sacred cows here.
I'm just saying, I bet that's one of the reasons they don't do it.
Maybe. But I can think of plenty of old movies with a little bit of upgrade in special effects would be masterpieces,
Mhm, mhm.
right?
No, I
But
love Revenge of the Sith. I actually think to me, it's tied for the second best Star Wars movie
it's
ever made.
your generation. It is your
Yeah.
generation, yeah. Um,
It's a really good film. The problems with it are, well, Hayden Christensen can't act. That's the main
that's a
problem.
huge
Uh,
problem. Yeah.
it's a big problem. But other than that, everybody else brings it in that movie. Everybody else does. Like
But
even Sam Jackson, who played Mace Windu so straight, in this one he opens up a little bit because Sam can act when he's
oh,
supposed
sure,
to.
you can.
Uh, and you get a little bit more out of him here, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I
Just a
th-
good movie,
I think
good
this
film.
movie has the same problem the entire prequel have. There
George Lucas.
are a lot of yeah, there's a lot of loopholes. There's a lot of plot holes in it, dude. Not loopholes,
Yes.
plot holes. A lot of plot
Well,
holes. It's a real problem. And of
if he had
course,
used all his footage, it would have been like a 5-hour movie. He
sure,
had
but
so much that he cut.
well, like for instance, we know you're mentioning cutscenes, right?
Yeah,
With this movie, for instance, at the end, spoilers if you haven't seen it, it's been 20 years.
yeah,
But at the end, Padme dies. Now,
that's right.
in the release movie, you think she died from a broken heart. Now, as you know, nostalgic as George Lucas is, you could buy that was his thinking, as stupid as that is. But that's not how.
Yes,
That's not why she died. Palpatine killed her, right? And
correct.
we know this from cutscenes and script and stuff like that. We know that that's what happened. But in the final cut, you're not informed this enough, right?
Right.
It's left too ambiguous. So little things like that, right? That's a big problem with the prequels.
There's another one near the end. So, the scene where he's burning up, right? He loses the fight
Hmm.
to Obi-Wan. He's burning up. Well, if you actually go back and watch, you can still see the acting of it is there, but he cut the audio out. Nobody knows why, but George did. Um, so when he screams, "I hate you," the
Yeah.
only time he actually acts in the whole movie, Hayden Christensen. The reason why he screams that is because before that, he begs him to help him, and Obi-Wan tells him no. They cut that out of the movie, but that would have been the reason why he put it in the script originally, George, and then cut it out is still a mystery to me, but I know why he put it in the script originally, even if he doesn't. It's a perfect foreshadowing of what comes later with Luke, where Luke is being burned alive by the Emperor's lightning, begging his father to help him, because Obi-Wan is basically his surrogate dad, and instead of refusing, Anakin says yes, basically, and throws the Emperor down the shaft.
Right.
Uh, It would have been perfect. That's a perfect duality, a synchronicity, a foreshadowing of what's to come. And he cut it out. What are you
because
doing?
he didn't want Obi-Wan to seem heartless.
Yes, that's stupid. Obi-Wan went there to kill him. Why would he help him? Of course that he wasn't going to help him. That's what he
Yeah.
was there to do. So he thought he was dead. He thought that was going to kill him, obviously. Uh, it's just, George. You fucked up your own movie. That would have added so much weight to what was to come and been such great
Yeah.
foreshadowing. He
There's a
does this
lot
a
of those
lot.
little things
A
like
lot
that in
of
the
it.
prequel. Like for instance,
Yeah.
we know that of course he had to rewrite scripts, right? Because we know Jar Jar Binks was supposed to be Darth Plagueis. He
Yes.
is Darth Plagueis.
It's so obvious when you watch it.
It
It's there's
is.
no way that's not what it
But
is.
he overplayed that character's stupidity. The Dungans in general are just too stupid to exist in the Star Wars universe. They're too stupid.
That's
And
right.
because he's, trying to, well, I got to make it for 12-year-olds, like you said. Well, yeah, okay, pick a lane then.
Yeah, 12-year-olds aren't retarded. They
And no-
they might be
and
silly, but they're not
12-year-olds aren't
retarded.
interested in socio-political dialogue either.
Right.
Right? And
Right.
that's the
Good
problem.
world building.
Either make it for the grown-up people who love your thing and do the political stuff, which is fine, or make a fun adventure like you did originally. Pick a lane,
That's
right?
right.
And to be fair, the Clone Wars under that guy who's a little bit of an idiot handled that balance much better
Yes.
with the
Well, and
the
then the other
animated.
thing I'll say about the prequels that a lot of people don't understand. See, George is a student of classical everything, right? He really likes the old stuff. That's
Sure.
why Star Wars has such a weird, like, medieval feel to it, but yet it's high fantasy, right?
Yeah. It's
It's because he
fantasy in
knows what
space.
he understands on a conceptual level what he's doing. The original is a late medieval, high medieval fantasy, just set in space.
Mhm.
The OG trilogy, the last three. The prequels is a Greek tragedy set in space. That's the idea.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it's
We
much
just need to
more
cut the kitty
focused on
shit
that.
out of it, and you would have been fine.
Yeah, if he had just picked a lane, like you said, that was always George's problem. He has all these great ideas, and they are great ideas, but you can't do them all at once, George.
Yeah.
That's not how it works,
Well,
buddy. You got to
in the
pick one.
original series, he had people over him saying no.
Right. And and a wife who edited the movie together and made it make
Right.
sense.
Right. But yeah, no, this could have been way better. Although this is considered the best of the three by most people, I think, me included, certainly is
Yeah.
better. The whole little side story with Obi-Wan and General Grievous is in this movie too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, where he
so
fights General Grievous, finishes him off.
yeah, but it's a nice little side quest. Yeah, there's some interesting things in this. And I think this is the one where Anakin kills Dooku too. Is in the beginning of this movie, right?
Yep. The
Yeah,
beginning of that, he cuts Dooku's head off.
yeah.
Um, and then you also get to see Mace Windu do Mace Windu shit and straight up beat Palpatine in a sword fight. Now, whether or not Palpatine threw that fight just because Anakin was there or he just got beat, we don't never know. But
Well,
yeah,
Anakin does come in, and
mhm,
and they make a point of the Emperor looking at him, and then that's when
right,
Mace beats him. So I'd say let him,
right.
because
Well,
we
but we
saw
don't know for certain because Mace is a bad motherfucker, so he
he
might have just been
is,
able to beat him.
but Yoda is better, and Yoda couldn't. He
Uh,
kind of won, but he didn't win one.
Yoda's not a better duelist.
You
He's
think?
better at the Force. No, it's canon. Mace Windu is the greatest Jedi duelist besides Luke Skywalker. Well, it's it for Disney anyway. Ever. He is. Now, Palpatine though might have been better because he was the greatest Sith duelist ever besides the ancients. Um, so I don't know. We just don't know because, like you said, Anakin came in and it looks like he threw the fight on purpose,
It looks
and he
like
might
it.
have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And of course, they left it very ambiguous whether Mace is dead anyway. Because
right.
so
I don't think.
what? He threw a Jedi Master out of a window. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's not going to kill a Jedi. What are we doing here? He'll just force catch himself. He'll be fine. Um, but yeah, no, it's one of those things, and that was it's a shame that we only really got to see Mace do a few fights because he creates great characters. Mace Windu is an amazing character. It's why I would love a Mace Windu series because I think if you did that, told his story, people would be like, "Holy shit, Mace is a badass." Yeah,
I
Mace is a badass.
I think I'd rather have a different actor doing him though.
Well, we don't need Sam Jackson doing a whole series in his 80s. No, no, no.
No, but
We would get
even
we
at
would get
any
somebody
time,
else.
I'd rather
Yeah,
have someone of a talent like Idris Elba or
yeah,
someone, a really, really, really good actor that could
yeah.
bring
Mace
some
is so good.
gravitas and some presence to it.
Well, the reason because why you're right is because Mace is one of the only Jedis before the idea really became conceptualized of like this gray Jedi thing, right? Which is kind of
Yeah,
silly.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
But he is that. He was already that. He uses the dark side in his lightsaber fighting, but it doesn't corrupt him because he's such a master of what he's
Right.
doing.
Well, the
Um,
the problem
it would
I
be
had.
great to just watch him develop that. I think that could be cool.
Yeah, no, I would love to see a Mace Window thing, but I cannot with Sam or someone like Sam.
No,
Like, please do
no.
not put Jamie Foxx in the robe. Um, but no, because the problem with Sam playing that character, even though I think he did fine, is every time I saw him on screen, all I could hear in my head was "motherfucking snakes on a motherfucking plane." That's it. That I
That
couldn't
would
couldn't
be
get
great.
it couldn't get away from it, man. But yeah, no, I'm glad it came out and made some money for him. That's cool.
That's good. I
It
love
is,
Revenge of the Sith.
and I
I
wish we
really
did
wanted to
more
go
of that.
see it.
Yeah,
I do too. Like, you could make a whole event of it, bro. Like, so, like, they have all these cons and stuff, right? Why aren't they doing these at movie theaters with these movies like this?
yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Well, dude,
It would make sense.
no, they in some places do little things. It would be cooler to see it bigger. Like for instance, I went and saw the oh shoot, Robert Howard did Conan, but what was the Atlantean King's name? Kevin Sorbo played the character.
Oh,
Cull. Is it Cull?
yeah.
Okay.
If it's
Uh,
Kevin Sorbo, yeah,
yeah, well, I went to go see the movie. My wife and I went to go see it live. There was like a big event, and it was a horrible movie, by the way.
it is a
But
bad
anyway,
movie.
went to that event. They had a thing before, and they were giving away some prizes. And one of it was a local company though, not something like Disney, right? It was local
Mhm.
company, and they were giving stuff away. They had a whole show before the show, and they gave away an actual one of the lightsabers used in The Empire Strikes Back. They gave that away, and I won it. I've told you this before, right? I have
That's cool.
all the paperwork and I got everything on it, and it is cool as shit to actually own something from Empire Strikes Back, and I didn't have to pay a penny for it. I won it by getting up and doing my best Vader impression, and everybody voted for me. It was great. And it wasn't even my ticket; it was my wife's,
Nice.
but she was too shy, so I took it and went up there. But anyway, but so I'm happy that I won a thing. But it was just the whole experience was fun. It actually made that horrible movie better.
I'd imagine. Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause that movie was bad.
It
Oof.
was bad. See, we
Poor
got the
Kevin.
accountant here too, and I didn't watch the first one because Ben Affleck is boring as shit to me. Are you a Ben Affleck fan?
Nah, nah, no,
Yeah,
no, 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 no.
I'm not a big fan.
I have seen the accountant. It's actually okay, but this is probably crap.
I have no clue. He's with his brother in this one, I guess. The character's brother. Maple Sheik says Robert Downey Jr. as Mace Windu. Well, Robert has done blackface before. Um,
It's kind of
uh,
hard. Who would you pick? It would have to be a younger black guy if we're gonna do him coming up as a Jedi.
If you go to do a
Um,
younger version, yeah, one thing about all this woke nonsense that that has come out of it, we have got a lot of young black actors that have come up that are actually pretty good. So
yeah,
that's the only kind of positive I've seen come out of it. There are some young guys I think they could pull it off, real true actors. Now, of course, this movie hasn't made any money. I'm sure it's losing money. But it is what it is. Let's see here. Until Dawn sounds like a horror movie. They're trapped in a time loop with mysterious foes, chase and kill them in a grotesque way. Um, have I seen this movie? Is this like an older movie that finally got an actual cinema release? It might
I don't
be.
know. Maybe might be.
It might be. But it's not making any damn money at all. Pink Floyd, that's just a re-release of some live show of Pink Floyd. On Swift Horses has made no money, and the name, it's from Sony though. And boy, that sound horrible. It sounds like a dumb drama. Muriel and her husband Lee are about to begin a bright new life. Oh, which is upended by the arrival of Lee's brother. Uh-oh. Muriel embarks on a secret life, gambling on racehorses, discovering a love she never thought possible. So basically, the dude's brother shows up, and she just starts having a love affair with her brother, which, is that ever happened in real life? Do brothers actually sleep with their other brothers, their
Oh,
brothers'
yeah.
women? Does that happen?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they don't get murderlated?
Well, they do sometimes, but no, yeah, it happens. I don't know why. That's very strange to me. If I had a brother, I have friends. I wouldn't. But no, no, his penis has been in her. I'm good.
Yeah, no, why would I do that? I wouldn't mess
I'm
with
good.
any woman of my brothers. That's my brother. That's his woman.
There's other women out there. I don't need this one.
Yeah,
Well, they're out there. I
plenty
seen
of
them.
women.
They're
And
running
so
around. I see them.
it is weird. Anyway, anything else? We got no, dude, these movies are making no money. Magic Farm, Normal Family, Blue Sun Place, April. What the hell, dude?
Yeah, those are tiny little releases. It looks like.
Yeah, but I mean, goodness gracious, I mean, one theater, okay, cool. That's probably someone's little pet project, but boy. Anyway,
What's Minecraft looking like? Click on Minecraft real quick. How's Minecraft doing?
400
Almost a
million.
Billy. Almost a
That
Billy
that right there has
worldwide.
probably made his money back. It might even be a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit in the black.
yeah. I'd imagine. Or if not, it's got to be real close. By the time it's done, it'll probably breach a billion and be that'll be it.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I'm
good.
actually surprised. I figured it'd make more than that. I mean, it's Minecraft, bro. It's
Yeah.
huge. It's a
It
huge
is it
franchise.
it is kind of bizarre though in a way because it is doing well and some people are happy that it was made, but they're also complaining at the same time.
Yes.
So whatever. But this has nothing to do with me. I wasn't a Minecraft guy. But rock on. Rock on. Anyway, that's what I got for us today. It's one of those days. But
One of those days.
Rachel Zegler is absolute poison for anything. And the girl cannot shut up. She just
No.
cannot shut up. And there's so many young girls like that these days. It's far less the dudes. I mean, occasionally you see kind of a noisy gay guy, but even or just some beta cuck. But they're nowhere near as noisy as these girls, dude. Nowhere near. It's insane what's going on with the women today, man. They're just the entitlement is it's epic.
Epic proportions of entitlement.
Yeah,
It is. It's unbelievable, and it's gonna come around. Because, like I said, if you go younger, it's a lot less so. It's these girls in between, I'd say 24-ish to like 40 right now, about
sure,
15, 16 years. That's where it's at, and that's where the culture, is largely focused on is them.
sure.
But I've just from my own observations, you go a little bit younger, and these ladies are not quite. It's still, I mean, they're women. They're still a little bit entitled, but not like that generation.
Well, you know what I
That
want?
generation's a different level.
I want to see the girls do what the boys are doing, for not all, but a lot of them are. Get back to like, hey, I want to be a great actress.
Yeah.
I want to be remembered as being great, like a Meryl Streep or someone like her, right? Because
Yes.
whether you like her or not, that lady puts effort. Angelica Houston, for instance, they put effort into what they do. They want to be good at what they do, and that's the right thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Angelica Houston, by the way, best movie she ever made, Ice Pirates.
Yeah.
That was a joke, but that's my favorite movie with her. Anyway, that's all. Take us out of here, dude.
That's it. I'm gonna do this one because I mentioned it earlier. Understand, my boys. Sometimes blessings hurt.
That's true. Namaste. Later, everybody.